It is the Bennington Show, back live today after our big super secret day yesterday. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
Joey Jojo starting us off with Season of the Witch. And this is to do with what, Gail? What is the premise this week?
Our week is movie closing credits, last song of the movies.
Sweet.
So this is To Die For, which I think is maybe one of my favorite last scenes of any movie.
The ice skating?
Yeah. No spoilers.
Well, I'll say this. Ice skating, chilling.
So
chilling scene.
So chilling.
I definitely do not like biopics because they're all liars.
Mm-hmm.
But this one took the premise out of the news, changed it to make their own. So I'm totally cool with that.
Yes.
If, you're based on a news story, not saying this is the way it happened. Like there's that Steve Jobs movie coming out.
Yeah.
And everyone is going to love it and feel like they know Steve Jobs. And then people who know Steve Jobs are going to say, why are they such liars? They lied about Steve Jobs.
But don't you feel like movies always end up being like the hot thing of the moment, but then they never seem to last? It doesn't seem like when people are listing their favorite movies of all time, it's never those biopics.
Nixon, I guess Nixon. And, if Oliver Stone is an insanely great, crazy filmmaker. But that Nixon film made me want to defend Nixon.
And it was pretty inaccurate, right? I mean, that's
100%.
Yeah,
biopics should be called an inaccurate film. That's the problem with them.
That's why you're better off taking a premise and then just kind of switching it up instead of saying this is...
Well, friends of mine who defend biographies are always like, well, it's a starting point, and that way you could go back, but it's just not true.
Yeah, then there should be a fictional character, and that's your starting point.
And there's so much fake stuff in Rudy, and that film came out 30 years ago, and Rudy still goes out and signs shit as an inspiration to people, instead of, hey, you and the filmmakers are fucking liars.
You told me that. I had no idea. I had just assumed that Rudy is a true story.
But just assume, at best, these are dime novels in the Old West. You know what I mean? You can actually watch a movie about Billy the Kid, and he's the good guy. And for some reason, it doesn't bother me because it's a couple 100 years old. But when everyone is still walking around, that annoys the shit out of me.
Well, the worst part about Rudy is you said the coach wasn't so hard on Rudy. He wasn't the
just
one
the
who was
opposite.
cute. Yeah.
Dan Devine, there's a scene in the movie where everyone just comes and puts down their shirt, quitting the team, saying, this is for Rudy. This is for Rudy. And Dan Devine's like, hey, it was my idea to put Rudy in. No one fucking had to quit on me. Another thing, Joe Montana said something bad about Rudy one day, right? Joe Montana, you could argue the greatest quarterback of all time. It's a short list anyway. The nation was furious with Joe Montana and told him to shut his mouth, and he can't stand it if anyone else gets any credit besides him. And he was in school with Rudy.
And he was saying what?
There.
Rudy was kind of a jerk or what?
He was the kid really couldn't play. There was no big deal there. He basically, now I'm being a biopic guy because I'm lying, and said, but he almost said it was like when they put the mentally challenged kid in and tell him that he scored a touchdown. That's what Rudy was. And by the way, so far this year, we haven't had the mentally challenged kids scoring a touchdown, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, those are your favorite.
It infuriates me because I think what should happen is you put the mentally challenged kid and let people tee off on him. Let him compete. Why do you act like because you're mentally challenged, we're going to make you think you scored a touchdown rather than saying this is what it's like to play a sport, kid.
Right.
This is what the experience is like.
Well, that kind of stuff is only really to make themselves feel
the people who put it together, yes, because somehow they feel like scoring a touchdown has made someone's life. When reality,
we really did it.
Yeah, when reality, it's about the same as winning a checkers game when you're a kid. Like you
Which
feel
is pretty good.
You feel good for that moment, but if you sat around years later going, "I beat my cousin in checkers," it just seems like I was just kinging. Once I got the kings, forget about it. It was over.
I was unstoppable. It was the greatest day of my life.
There are things that you're like. Anytime that you're in bars, somebody had always scored the last touchdown of the year for their high school. You know, you always hear somebody tell that.
Right.
But no one will ever say, you know, their gymnast move that they made where, you know, I fucking landed perfectly.
Right.
And it was great because everyone would be like, well, who cares?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with me.
But you've always hit the home run or you've scored the touchdown. You know, something marvelous happened in your life.
And then probably most people never tell truth about when they're young playing games where you probably most of the time didn't do much of anything.
Well, yeah. And also remember, you scored against some other really bad kids too. You know what I mean? Like you
Just children.
Yeah. You weren't scoring on the Minnesota Vikings. You were scoring on dudes from another neighborhood. Otto in Boston, what's happening?
Hello.
Hey, what's happening, man?
The movie Amadeus. I really liked it when I saw it, and then I read the true story, and I was infuriated because the truth was at least as good as the crap they made up. And I was just like, why didn't they just do the truth if they're going to do a story about Mozart?
You know what? There's tons of truth to that normally when you go back and find out the life. Yes, it doesn't have a Hollywood type thing, but everyone's life is somewhat interesting. You know, you could probably find something interesting in anybody's life.
Well, also, it's, I think, a little frustrating because most people are going to get their history then from the movie that they see. Most people are not going to go out and then like, you know what, that was pretty interesting. I'm going to read a couple books on Mozart. They're like, I know a lot about Mozart now, so.
Here's Gary. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, Ron?
Yeah.
You know, all through life, I've just been an average athlete, nothing great. But I want to feel like a hero, so I want to be put in the Special Olympics so I can push them around, and I can get the trophy to be the big winner.
I'm telling you right now, I watched all the Special Olympics coverage. Do not go out for weightlifting, dude, because you ain't pushing anybody around in that sport. I saw some incredibly strong athletes.
Super strength.
Yeah. Now, the Special Olympics is an interesting thing because there are people like with mental and physical stuff. So when you see someone, you know, doing like 100 meters and they have no legs and all that, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. But to give that kid the ball against the Cincinnati Bengals and feel like he scored a touchdown, that's disingenuous. It's the exact opposite of sport. The Special Olympics, to me, celebrates everything that's great about sport without overly acting like sport is the only thing that matters.
Right.
When you give a kid a ball and say, oh, look, you just scored on Nebraska. Look, I'm going to tell you the truth. If it's a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, I get a kick out of it. But if it's somebody that's 18, I'm like, tee off on the kid, tackle him.
Yeah.
Let him have the experience. Because there's nothing wrong. Like George Plimpton wrote fantastic books about going out and competing against athletes and getting stomped. It's fantastic reading. It's really about this small, weird, heroic thing. This everyman who steps in a ring with a boxer and gets, you know, sliced up by Archie Moore. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, funny, and great. And it's much more impressive than acting like you knocked the champ down when you didn't.
Well, there's even with sometimes with youth sports, when they make it about that moment instead of the process of learning a sport to begin with, because that was kind of like the point of having sports. It's probably a big part of why you even have it in school is because you're learning about something, the way it's done, you're learning a process.
Right. Well, this is the thing. Let's suppose you took me and you put me in the National Spelling Bee and everyone else is getting the other words and, you know, you're giving me stuff like doggy and, you know, And would I feel great, or would it be more interesting for me to actually try to do what those kids do and, show just how hard it is? That would be more impressive than everyone else is getting the hard words. It gets to me, car. And I'm going, can you use it in a sentence, please? And they would go, some people are too stupid to just quickly spell the word car. Car. Root word, I don't know, carburetor. I don't know where to go with this. Just spell it. You're here to cheat. I'm saying this because, well, I will tell you this. Yesterday, our secret plan was, this has been a year in the making. Chris and I went off to a major motion picture where we were on the set, and afterwards I did an hour with the director. I thought we were going to run it this week. Now I'm not exactly sure when we're going to run it. I'm going to talk to Don after the show today. It was mind-blowing.
Oh my God.
I now know this is a $150 million movie. Now I'm like Mr. Independent guy. I always act like, what is wrong with Robert Downey Jr.? Why won't he make independent films? And he goes, makes those stupid Avenger films. Within 5 minutes, I got it completely. I'm like, all I want to do is make major, gigantic films. That's it. I should talk to our buddy G Baby, who does this kind of stuff all the time. It was one of the most seductive things I've ever been a part of.
And you've never seen anything this massive, right? I mean, even seeing something shoot on the street or...
No, it's nothing compared to shooting in the street. We were in this giant, for lack of a better word, airplane hangar, but it wasn't. It was some former warehouse, top secret thing being used with iconic stuff everywhere, like and immediately I thought to myself, I really should be a major motion picture director, producer, or star, or caterer, or script assistant. It didn't matter. I did not ever want to leave that environment after just being there for seconds.
Just because there was crazy buzz there and everything felt so...
It was so exciting and everybody was good at their job. And within seconds, like the kid who scores on, the Chicago Bears, I immediately thought to myself, I could probably do this. I was thinking to myself, there's enough talented people around here.
Right. No one would notice that I didn't know what I was doing.
But I'm watching them, shoot scenes and then like, okay, we got the main one. Let's, kind of improvise, but stay inside the joke because I'm going to have so many different jokes. And let's see if Jermaine is around today. I immediately thought to myself, my life has been wasted. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I would have, because I'm always like, Jennifer Lawrence, you were in Winter's Bone.
Right.
Why are you, why are you Katniss now? All I'd ever want to be is Katniss. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I would completely go in the opposite direction. I wouldn't care at all.
Just because it's so electric? Or?
It's electric.
Yeah.
It's electric, and the sets are stunning. I mean, the people who work on those sets, any of those things to me could have been in MoMA in a heartbeat. I'm not even making this up. You know what I mean? When you go to a museum and you see something that's beautiful, and then you look at this set that I was at, which was, by the way, going to be destroyed within days, and I was on like 6 or 7 of these major sets. It would, the fact that it's going to be destroyed is kind of sad.
Right.
To me. Because it was stunning. And I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I mean, I felt like I was at these places.
Well, there's something that's like when you feel like how a film is made. You've always been a part of it. Yeah. You see behind the scenes stuff. And then I would imagine to be there, especially for a massive movie, it would be so surreal.
Look, I was so depressed when Oscar Isaac signed up that he wanted to do Star Wars. I'm like, this is the most depressing thing ever.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, I totally get why he'd want to jump in this. I thought Ryan Johnson, who great, Brick was such an amazing film when it came out, but then I hear that he's starting out, going for, like, Looper got a little further away from me, being a little more whatever, and now he's doing Star Wars. And then I thought, he went back and he did Breaking Bad, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Right. But now I'm like, oh, why wouldn't you? What? It took me 5 minutes to buy in and go, this would be the most incredible thing. And I'll just say this. It was a year ago that Paul Feig said to me in the hall, listen, when I do Ghostbusters, I want you to come out and see it, and then we'll do an interview. A year ago.
Yeah.
Chris has stayed in touch with his people. It's gone back a million times. Obviously, with something of that magnitude, you're not 100% sure that you're ever going to get it.
Of course. There's too many moving parts to something like that.
Yeah, because it was like, here are the dates that work. Oh, my God, these dates don't work. And, because I think the world of Paul Feig. But that was before I got to see him direct, which is just crazy to see him direct something this big and this gigantic. We did the thing after in his dressing room, his trailer, right? And his assistant said, this is 65 days in. He said, this is the third time he's been in his trailer. He's
that busy.
When I look at it, it looks like he's partners, right? With every single person on the set. The set designers, the costumers, the actors, the thing. He has this partnership relationship with everybody. The amount of information when you're doing a movie of this size, it was mind-blowing to me.
Well, what I think is crazy is that you have to have attention to detail, and yet there's this tremendous pressure of an entire film that needs to be, finished. But then yet you have to take a moment and say yes to a costume, yes to a set, yes to a line.
Because they're no less important.
Exactly.
Like when you really see the work, and I was actually thinking this when I was on the sets of how many times I guess subconsciously you may pay attention, because there's going to be CGI in this, but he wants to do as much organically as he possibly can. And I watched them do, kind of both. But I was thinking about this. Imagine if you took the next, 3 months of your life. Now, by the way, this is only the shooting schedule. He had a writing schedule, the prep schedule, the shooting, which is insane. And then he's going to take a break. And then the editing schedule where there's you go out and test the film. And there's there's an execution date. You know what I mean? Of
course, yeah.
This thing, it's going to be launched. So to know that, like, I would imagine every part of it, but it would be like taking years of your life, but managing every second. And yet, if someone said to me, look, you have got no experience, but next year you're going to direct, Star Wars or Star Trek or Batman or whatever cartoon movie that I normally make fun of. Would you do it? I would go, yes.
Yes, I will do it. I will dedicate the next 2 years.
Not only will I do it, but I honestly feel like it's going to be the greatest movie. Like you couldn't even begin to, and I watched I was together with the cast and watched the teaser trailer and the gag reel.
You saw the teaser trailer?
With the entire crew laughing, and at a certain point, I'm like, I'm now just going to step back, not look at the trailer, so I can look. And we're on the set, this beautiful set of a New York setting, and I'm like, I'm just going to watch this crew. And I saw it looked like theater nerds at the last day of summer camp. I mean, they were just so happy, and they had this relationship. I can't begin to tell you how seductive that the whole thing was. I I just was crazy about all of them.
It's one of those things where you hear all the time people, especially big movies like that, they're like, we became a family, or we were like, you could see then.
And you always think that they're lying, and you think that they're lying when they stand up and they get an award and we all work so hard. No, they do.
Yeah.
They were like a hive of bees. It was unbelievable to say, all right, I got Jermaine Lassier, who writes for, what's his website now?
IO9.
IO9, which is I think it's the biggest website on the planet right now, and he's the entertainment editor and writer, and G-Baby.
Oh, man, Ron, I'm so jealous you got to go on the Ghostbusters set. That is awesome.
Not only did I do that, but I turned it around. And you know that I try to convince you that you're wrong all the time about being excited, my balls blew up and all that. But at one point, I'm standing there, and I turn around, and Chris Stanley is just staring on the table. And it's the Proton pack, right?
Oh, my God.
Just sitting there. And Chris, I looked at him, and he looked 25 years younger. He looked like a little kid looking at this, and I'm like, it's weird to me to actually be here. G-Baby, what big sets have you been on? Because I know you do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I've been on about 2 dozen.
Yeah.
The biggest one, the biggest two, I guess, are probably, I was just on Star Trek 3, and I was on Ant-Man. But also, I think you sort of saw the best of the best because you not only got a big iconic thing, but you got a comedy set, and a comedy set is so much better than any other kind of set because they do improv and they do have fun. Like I was on the interview I was on, and that was hilarious. We were laughing so hard 3 rooms over that the production assistant had to come in and tell us to shut up because it was screwing up them on set. But then I was on Star Trek, and they were just walking around talking and stuff, and it was incredibly cool to walk on the Enterprise, but it doesn't have that juice of a comedy set. I was on the set of Anchorman 2, and they took us to SeaWorld to see them film the opening of that movie, and that movie is terrible, but if they had just shown you 2 hours of Will Ferrell interacting with a dolphin on set, it would have been the funniest movie of the year. I had a blast there.
Yeah, that is the thing, too, of and I was saying this to Feig, I'm like, doesn't it kill you when something great happens and you can't use it? And he was explaining you can't let, there's so many really funny things happen, but they change the tone of the film. So that one great laugh might ruin the next 4 or 5 laughs,
right?
Because people stop thinking that maybe this is real. I went back and watched Spy the night before I went on this thing. And that movie, what he did, making an action film and having all the funny lines through it, it's an incredible thing to pull off. But, G-Baby, let me ask you this. How do you not get seduced into thinking that these, every movie is just fantastic once you've been on the set like that?
Well, you just have to see the movie. I was on the set of a movie called In Time, directed by Andrew Niccol, who wrote The Truman Show, and with Justin Timberlake. And I was on here, and I'm like, wow, this is a great idea for a movie. I think this is going to be really good. And I thought that all the way up until about 20 minutes into watching the movie 8 months later. But no, you're absolutely right. You get seduced because everybody on that set, even at that time when you're talking to them, doesn't know what the movie is. They still think it's going to be great. They wouldn't be there if they didn't think it was going to be great. There are obviously exceptions to that. But yeah, you get seduced every time. I was on the set of White House Down, and everybody was like, this is going to be the best.
Right.
Roland Emmerich is going to fucking blow up that White House again. This is going to rule, yeah, it's just, you do get seduced 100%.
Well, I'm such a Paul Feig fan, but it was ridiculous to see how skilled he is beyond comedy on that set. It was like watching, it was like when you get seats on the floor of a basketball game and you're like, oh, I can't even see this on TV. You know what I mean? I had no idea that it was this fast and rough and, graceful all at the same time. It was phenomenal to see that thing moving like that.
Yeah, you get lucky if you see something really good. Like I was on the set last summer, or no, actually a couple months ago. This movie coming out next year called The Nice Guys, and it's written and directed by Shane Black, and it stars Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, and it's sort of like a Lethal Weapon thing, but set in like the '70s porn era. But to see those two guys, Gosling and Crowe, I'm like 20 feet away, like hamming it up with each other, it's completely different from being on the set of Insidious Chapter 3, which was a cool set because it's a horror movie. But when you see people at that level doing what they do, and then walking over and talking to you, completely being nice, and then going back, getting into character, it's mind blowing.
Well, and you take a guy like Shane Black, who, whether you love him or not, knows more about movies than anyone you've ever known.
Right.
I mean, he could probably wake up in the middle of the night and write an action movie script that would be better than if most people sat down and took 2 years to do it.
Are they going to let you run? I think you mentioned you might run it soon. Are they going to let you run it sooner? Because usually when I go on those set visits, I can't talk about anything other than saying I was there until like 3 months before the movie comes out.
Here's what happened. Paul said to me, run it anytime you want. That's why I invited you, right? Somebody called the movie studio today and said, when do you want this run? And I'm like, why would you do that? I had Paul say, no, I want you to do this. And
right.
we said, here was the other thing that shocked me, G baby. I have like spoilers galore if I even wanted to. Nobody made me sign anything. And there's no reason for me to do that because, people should go enjoy the movie. And I'm not a guy whose life is about, putting out movie secrets. I'm not the ain't a cool guy. So it just doesn't mean anything or help my career. But Paul was just like, yeah, come on in. I had my phone in my pocket.
Yeah.
And could have been snapping off pictures of sets that I cannot believe the guys who put together these sets, how talented they are. If I would have blindfolded you and took you there, you would have believed that you were in a subway station in New York. You would have believed you were on the tracks. You would have believed that you were on the roofs of buildings. It was stunning to me.
Which is crazy detail too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy. I think also it's nuts to me that you were given this trust. I mean,
yeah, I know.
It's so incredible, especially these kind of big budget movies, but also a movie that already has a legacy.
Right. I was actually thinking this, and I brought it up. I don't know if there is an iconic comedy, in terms of like the regular geek stuff. Like everybody wants to see the Batmobile and the new thing and all that, and Star Trek. But other than Ghostbusters, does anyone care what each? If you were to reboot anything,
right?
Is there that thing? And I guess because this is the only like comedy that had toys and people grew up with and were crazy about.
Right. And big personalities and really funny actors that people connected to the characters that way.
Yeah. But even more than that, people like when he would, put out the proton pack on his Twitter, it was major news all around the thing. When people got to see the car,
yeah.
It was major news, whether or not there's going to be sliming or not. I don't know a comedy that people were like, if you want Caddyshack, no one necessarily wants to see what the driver looked like, or, you know what I mean? Even though, like, no matter what comedy you're talking about, you don't have those things, you know?
And it was probably the combination of it being a big kind of movie, but also that there was like toys and action figures and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Yep.
I mean, when Feig first tweeted out the picture of the girls in their uniforms, I'm not even that type, and I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like I was so excited when I saw them. It's super exciting.
Well, that's the weird thing about it. I can't think of a comedy that somebody would care what the uniform would look like.
No, I think it's because, I mean, like you said, all the things you said, but also it does blend genre. It's not just a comedy. If you were to go to like a video store, dating myself, you'd be in the comedy section, but it's also a sci-fi movie. The only thing that comes to mind that's even close to that iconic is probably Back to the Future, which has comedy elements.
That's a good, that's a good one that people would want to see the car and stuff like that. But nobody, even Beverly Hills Cop split the genres, but no one really, there's nothing from that that's physically iconic,
right.
you know?
No.
And maybe that's because it has such a connection to like youth too. When young people are excited about it, I think you get that kind of nostalgia and like wanting to know the specifics of all the.
Well, your cousin, when he was, this is just a couple years ago, when he was like 7 or 8, he only called Bill Murray Peter Venkman.
Yeah.
And you had another cousin that was in here with me one day when Sigourney Weaver came in. And she got her picture taken, but only referred to it as Ghostbusters. I'm like, well, did you see Alien? I mean, she's done other stuff. She's really well known, but only knew her from Ghostbusters.
She's just Dana.
And and then all her friends, she put it on, Facebook, and we're like, Dana, this is incredible. And I'm like, that's really weird. Those kids grew up with that like it was, I don't know, Yogi Bear or something.
Yeah, that cartoon level of obsessiveness.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to hear it before April, Ron, because that would be really, really interesting.
Well, we will see. I'm going to put Don on it after the show today to see if I planned on running it immediately. Only because, I do, there's no spoilers in it. Just Feig, being that comedic guy that he is, but it's really weird. We were just talking, it wasn't that long ago that he couldn't make any movies. That people are like, no, we don't trust you to make movies.
Well, I think that's crazy when you think of when people say that they feel almost like a phony, or you'll see that with actors or directors where they get this huge opportunity and they're just like, I hope no one figures out that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here or not. Well, so you just have to act confidently.
Well, he felt like he could make movies, but Hollywood didn't. Right. And even before Bridesmaids, he was turned down to make a kid's movie. And then he made Bridesmaid. And then, what they're saying is, oh, your movies are making money. Spy Maid, was a big international film, which is hard to do for a comedy. But, that game is sometimes you make one movie that doesn't work and you don't get back in.
Or you hit on something that you weren't sure you're going to, and then your career just takes off.
Yeah, it takes off. Well, G baby, I'm gonna get my phone and start trading Star Wars cards with you.
Please do. I'm a little light right now, but that's cool. So cool, and like I said, I can't wait to hear it. And when you do air it, that's something I'm going to listen to and look for the news. And I'm going to find something. Well,
I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it.
Right.
I'll talk to you later, my friend.
Later, buddy.
Peace. I really do feel like I needed to give G baby almost an apology there, because I could never understand geek culture until I walked on that set.
And
I'm a hypocrite.
Well,
a total hypocrite.
Well, I think if you haven't experienced it, the first thing you're going to think of is, why would you go, you're doing a small movie and then you go to a big budget movie. You're only imagining the only thing that would motivate you to do that is money.
Yeah.
But it's hard to imagine it as a huge, almost bigger than a live. It's like a live performance too, because it has that buzz on a set where you could probably just live off that excitement.
Well, you know what? It also, it's sometimes you're like, oh, rich people are so weird with their country clubs and stuff. But then you go do some, crazy spa day somewhere, and you just expect, I think I'm going to stay like this forever.
Wait a second, this is pretty nice.
It's really, but this was an artistic version of that. When you see people all working really hard and feeling really good about it, and then you see a guy that and you like and you think is funny, but then you also see how many other skills it takes to get that funny up. I saw Melissa McCarthy do an in-between joke just about something that happened on the set, and I can't give it away because I'm just, not going to, I'll tell the story someday. But, and then, her and Feig go back and forth. It was so funny. And so it was almost like if you see people like in the park or something and they're in love and you're like, oh yeah, I don't know why I'm so cynical. That really looks legitimate. Right. That kind of comedy on that level was really cool to see, with them knowing we have just this one period to get this one scene. You know what I mean? Well, let's light this up. Well,
aside from everything being impressive, it's a great director, and all four of those women are incredibly funny. And so that is going to add to the experience no matter what.
Two of them became movie stars in Paul Feig's films, right? Mm-hmm. They were both had done, great TV work, but it's not easy to cross over. The other two, you look at Kate McKinnon, and I was watching on the set, and I think she's going to be a movie star.
McKinnon, and who's the other?
Leslie Jones.
Leslie Jones.
Who basically didn't even get her first break at all until being in comedy for 20 plus years. And then when you saw what she did on Saturday Night Live, like the first time she was handed a bit, you know what I mean? Well, she just dropped the hammer. And then you're like, well, could she, now she's going in through this door. And I see her on Saturday Night Live all the time. And I think that she's funny and, throws the elbow, and it's everything that I like in comedy. But I also saw how serious she was in between these scenes.
Really?
Like, she knows she's on a big movie and she's coming there to bring it. You know what I mean? She was in whatever pocket. And like, I specifically, we're looking at these two of like, could this be a life-changing thing for them?
Well, for Leslie Jones, especially, what a short time that just happened. You've got to imagine something like, what was that, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when she joined SNL, and that would have been the biggest thing to her. That was a massive break. To find out, oh yeah, and because you're on SNL, a year and a half from now, you're going to be on like one of the biggest movies that is going to be released of the decade.
Right.
You wouldn't even expect that to join on SNL, which is a big enough honor for a comedian to begin with. And you know how many people, really talented people, come out of that show who never really get the big movie, or, maybe they work on a couple films after they leave the show, but they're not going to be on something at that level.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
Yeah. And that was the film, specifically that put Bill Murray over into something else. Dan Aykroyd had done it. Both those guys have given their blessing to this thing. Both those guys have been there. I do think there's one thing that I could give G-Baby that no one else is going to know till Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that...
Should you do it?
Should I? Because everybody is going to know on Saturday.
So it's something that's going to be released?
No, it's something that's probably going to happen in public by Saturday.
Okay.
But now, since I said it on the air... So anyway, there's the thing. That was really, really, one of those phenomenal things to do. By the way, this has actually even made me think a little bit about Leslie Jones. Remember that everybody was getting mad at Lorne for not having any black women on the show?
Yeah.
And then Leslie wasn't even the first. It was the other comedian.
Yeah.
Was first before her. And then Leslie just went on as Leslie was a writer. And then, they put her on and she
did like a weekend update spot.
Yeah, she hit that home run first time. But like, it made me think, like, sometimes, like, if you don't push people to do stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You won't find stuff. Even though I'm sure Lauren said I was looking for a long time or whatever, but it really did feel like that really did go through my mind, that whoever those people were.
Right, to put the pressure on him to
I mean, because there's no way that Paul Feig felt like he needed to do, like had to hit any kind of, people give him nothing but benefits for the women that he uses. So like there was no way that he felt like, oh, I've got to go out and find a Leslie Jones type. But because somebody put that on Lauren, he's watching it on TV and said like immediately the first time he saw her, I got to do something with her. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got to make that.
Yeah, her initial performance on SNL, like right out of the gate, she just was like shot out of a cannon.
It was like The Natural. It was like the first time The Natural stepped up to the plate and just ripped the cover off the ball.
Yeah, I remember the first time she was on that Weekend Update, I was just with my mouth open like, Who is this chick? Where did she come from?
Andy, my buddy in Cleveland, what's up?
Hey guys, big news today. My kids' film that I made last summer, Pups United, drops today. It's available on Amazon, Amazon Prime, Walmart.com, etc., Best Buy.
How'd you feel about it?
I'm feeling good. It's it is what it is. It's a simple little film, but it was pretty cool that Grindstone Entertainment and Lionsgate both picked it up to distribute it. Rob Schneider got behind it and gave us the voice of one of the dogs. And it's been kind of fun. I play one of the thieves that are trying to rip off a kid's soccer tournament. And each kid's team has a separate mascot in the form of a talking dog of different nationality. So and they do their best to thwart our plans.
This is kind of your Joe Pesci Home Alone moment.
I play more the Daniel Stern role.
Okay, Daniel Stern. Okay.
Yes, I am. If you see the trailer's up on IMDb and YouTube, and I am definitely the young blonde idiot with more hair who keeps getting hit and dragged behind golf carts.
Well, I definitely want to give this a watch, my friend. I'm happy for you. That's a really cool thing to get that released.
Yes, and I guess coming on the heels of this will also be the more adult film that I made with Jackie Earle Haley. That's going on. I don't have a release date for that yet. That's called Criminal Activities with Jackie Earle Haley and John Travolta. They have a nice little chunk of a scene there with Mr. Earle Haley. And that was also a big part of my summer last year. So that's it should be a big fall.
All right. I wanted to say everything because once I say this part, it's all people are going to be able to focus on. On the set, there was a New York scene, and a friend of mine is wearing a hard hat in the scene, and he got the line, "All right, Ghostbusters." Chris Stanley. Was it "All right, Ghostbusters"? Am I right when I said that?
That was the first. That was the take given to me.
Well, that's the scene in the script.
Oh my God, that's crazy!
He wore a hard hat.
It was amazing.
Now, here's what you have to remember: Chris Stanley is from Queens, so he doesn't have to put on a New York accent. He owns one. Right. Yeah, when I watched him act, here's how he did the scene.
All right, Ghostbusters.
So,
oh my God.
That's...
Please make it into the film, please.
I hope so.
Now, say it again.
All right, Ghostbusters.
As they're, the Ghostbusters are running by, and it's very, very exciting. So, they shot that a couple times. Now, I'm biting through my wrist while this is happening. I'm dying. And I just want to take out my phone and shoot Chris.
Oh, my God.
But I'm everything in me. So just do it one more time.
All right, Ghostbusters.
And I will admit, there's a lot of people there. So they thought... Just because it's so, they're running by with the proton pack, all that is funny. And then Chris does this, and by the way, you can't see, but he has like his hand in the air, like he's very excited.
Sure.
And I don't know what was happening before or after. I had the feeling that Chris and the crowd were in some kind of trouble, but we weren't told about that. And then Paul, shooting it from a couple angles, gives Chris the chance to improvise.
Oh my God!
His line.
Mind blowing.
And go ahead and do your line, Chris.
The improvised line?
Yes, the improvised line.
Go, go, Ghostbusters!
No!
Now, all right, Ghostbusters. Everybody kind of clapped after it was over and stuff.
That was cool.
And Chris is in this, by the way, orange vest and a hard hat.
Yeah.
But other than that, the same clothes he came in on.
Perfect.
There's no reason.
No need to change.
Yeah, there's no reason.
I had that look.
Yeah. Now, as Chris does his improvised line,
go, go, Ghostbusters!
you could have heard a pin drop.
I thought it was going to be really good.
Because everyone thought that the alliteration was a little much.
Yeah, sure.
And then Paul said, we don't judge here on the set. We'll see how it plays when we put it all together. But there were some people on the set who thought Go Go Ghostbusters was corny to embarrassing.
I thought it was great. It's go, 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 Ghostbusters! Wouldn't that make them feel good about themselves, the Ghostbusters?
Here is where Chris was more or less discovered, because on the set there was a stand. What would you call that?
It was craft services.
Yeah, but there was a little setup, a specific thing.
It was a trays of hot pastrami.
So it was pastrami sandwiches, which Chris was overindulging with a big stack.
Giant.
And he said the term, you gotta have the hot mustard with it and all. And as we're standing there, there are people, by the way, there are the members of the crew who knew this show was humbling, who some have been listening for years, some know all of the changes. Chris and I posed for pictures with people. It was very weird.
Crazy, man.
There were people very excited that were coming on. And the first thing the guy says to me, so I could see Chris, you don't have 4 legs, is the way it started.
Oh my God.
But as he's eating the big pastrami sandwich, much larger than actors would consume. You know what I mean? Not even crew members.
Oh, God.
And Chris was explaining that you gotta have hot mustard.
Spicy.
And they were like, we're doing this crowd scene. And as soon as they're saying it, I'm going like this. Yes, he will.
Yes, he will.
And so it started as an extra that they promised to get a shot of, to micing him and giving him a line, which it looks like he's got his side card coming to him.
Go, go, Ghostbusters!
Oh, my
Why did you feel the need to do a New York accent if you're from New York?
Well, because I wanted to ham it up. I wanted them to know that I was from New York. I don't realize I have a New York accent. So I thought they want to hear a New Yorker. This is in New York. Go, go, Ghostbusters!
By the way, here's another thing I know. Another friend of ours who does this show, I saw in the gag reel, and this person never even brings it up. I'm going to write it down for you.
Please do.
Because I don't like to give, I know a lot of people don't like to say stuff. I don't know how big the part is, or in case.
Right, in case they get cut. You don't want to get everyone's hopes up. Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, man! I hope this person ends up in the movie.
And the reason why he was in the gag reel is that one of the stars of Ghostbusters hit him for real instead of pulling a punch.
Accidentally.
Drilled him.
Oh my God. Please, Lord, let Go Go Ghostbusters be in the movie, please.
If I'm gonna,
it's a stretch, I know.
Yeah.
At the very least, it could be, we could be looking at the future summer movie blockbuster where we actually team up the Ghostbusters with Inspector Gadget, and then that improv will make total sense.
All right, thanks, buddy. We'll make sure we check out your movie. Available on Amazon. Tell people how to check it out. It's for fun for the whole family there.
Yep, and I'll let you know when Criminal Activities get the date. So,
all right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Peace.
Pups United.
Pups United, go to Amazon and all that.
It's on Amazon Prime. Perfect.
On Amazon Prime. It seems like perfect to watch with your
perfect for the kids.
Family.
If you love pups, which we all do.
I could have killed it as a construction worker in that movie, too.
God. All right. Josh Austin says, Ron sounds like Chris's stage mother. I felt like a stage mother.
I felt like a stage kid. It was amazing. I couldn't believe that happened.
I am a stage kid.
That word would have been actor.
Okay.
You're looking for.
Good point.
Child actor. And I felt like a stage kid.
Yeah. I came up with the joke, which I did for some of the production people that I was standing with, because when he did Go Go Ghostbuster, or let him just try to do it now.
Go Go Ghostbusters!
So I have the headphones on, right? And I'm listening, and then I'm naturally ecstatic just to see Chris on the set and doing stuff. So I look around and I see that no one else was ecstatic, and I said, seems like a fart is born, huh? And then they look at me, They thought that maybe Chris was pronking a little bit. But why did you come up with that line?
Why Go Go Ghostbusters?
Because that would pump them up. I thought that would be the best thing to say to the Ghostbusters. Whatever the scene was, because they just put me there,
But you don't want to be the most unrealistic thing in a movie about ghosts.
That's true. Seriously, that's the review that's going to come out by someone. They're going to say there's the most unrealistic thing in a movie about ghosts.
Do you remember we had that conversation about worst extras in a movie? And please, God, I hope that's Chris Stanley one day.
By the way, 15 years ago to this very day, Almost Famous came out.
Really?
Yeah, someone tweeted that to us. So we ought to probably end the show today from the big scene from Almost Famous.
Good idea.
Some people were saying Hicks sounded like he was from Boston.
Go Go Ghostbusters. That's not Boston.
I
couldn't even do a Boston
what it
accent.
is.
I was watching on the monitor, and it is true that the camera adds 15 pounds to your face, because there was kind of just they show back, and then there's I
didn't get to see
a
that.
real big close up. Well, what happens too? Man, I probably shouldn't give it away, but I watched a major slime take place, right?
Whoa!
And what happens is after that, this thing keeps looping and looping and looping on all the monitors while everybody watches it, because it isn't just about the acting, but it's continuity stuff. So everyone there has different jobs to do, color, and, they're all watching it for their one thing. So I managed to see Go Go Ghostbusters.
Go Go Ghostbusters.
Go over and over and over. Seems like a fart is born, huh? Still nothing.
You guys are hard to please.
Yeah.
What, are you used to hearing hilarious actors talk all the time?
Remember how much we all liked him when we saw the size of his pastrami sandwich and the way he sloppily ate it?
That's how
they were like, this guy's perfect.
And then Chris was saying to me as he was eating it, I guess is a way of saying, even though this is a big sandwich, they want us to. He was saying through his thing, look, there's plenty of pastrami.
There was so much.
You have it.
No, what I didn't realize at the time is that we were being watched by the Star Maker machinery.
Yes, that was, you were being scouted at that very moment. There's plenty of pastrami.
I hope they let me in the editing bay.
There was never other than opiates, cocaine, meth, and alcohol, have I ever felt so overly seduced to something as big Hollywood.
Wow.
Where I thought to myself, I want more of this. And having Chris get that opportunity, I felt like a kingmaker. Like right away, I wanted to say, I've got so much more of this. Believe me, if you like what you see now,
and they do.
Wait till I bring Joey Jojo in here.
All right, Ghostbusters.
Oh, that's a great
Holy
idea.
Shit, it's even better.
Bullshit.
Oh,
Nope.
perfect.
Go Ghostbusters. This is much better than All Right
That's
Ghostbusters.
right.
Go Ghostbusters.
Wow.
You know what
good.
we might
That was
do?
good.
What's that?
Just have him in for looping.
Yeah.
No,
Could
no,
maybe you
do
come
not
in
let
for
him
a
near
VO
that.
dub?
Yeah, I can do that. Just let me know when.
Perfect. Let Feig know he's available and ready to do it at any time.
You will not.
Lewis has a problem with your read.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to ask Chris, why did he go with like the Joe Poo accent? I
eat my own poo.
Poo Ghostbusters.
Oh, interesting read.
Show with that.
Why didn't you say poop? Why didn't you bring up the pastrami? Clearly, that's what.
Great pastrami, Ghostbusters. No. Hey, do you have any of these pastrami, Ghostbusters?
You know what's great? The more lines he does, the less believable he is. You know what I mean?
The Ghostbusters go running by. There's plenty of pastrami, Ghostbusters.
Want some mustard, Ghostbusters?
By the way, the only person who understood him saying there's plenty of pastrami was me, because no one else understands how much I've heard him talk with a full mouth.
It was a good cut.
All right, Tim Knight writes, it's amazing that Hicks can even fuck up being a New Yorker when he's a real New Yorker.
Bullshit. I was a perfect New Yorker. I was a perfect New York construction worker. That guy's wrong.
We're going to have to leave it up to editing.
Pastrami eating.
Do you know how people are like, or how long that they're in the chair to get made? The fact that they just gave him an undersized hard hat, which, by the way, would be perfect size for any human, and then just an orange vest.
Yeah,
and
I
off
felt
he went.
the prop department let me down there with my giant head. I thought stars were supposed to have giant heads.
They would need months to come up with something like that.
I'm surprised I didn't ask you to keep your pastrami sandwich in hand.
I wanted to.
You're lucky you didn't say ghost mustards.
Shit! Can I get another one, please?
Can I take Paul? You nailed this time.
Go, ghost mustards! Could you do that again, Chris, but a little less fake New York?
This is real. I mean, this is real.
Now, you live in New York. Do you hear anyone who talks like the Go Ghostbuster guy? Because I don't.
If you go really South Brooklyn, you'll hear something like that.
No. No, you won't. I don't know whether you've been to South Brooklyn lately. No one talks that way. Oh, maybe people who are dead cartoon actors.
Oh my God. I just pray. I pray that it gets in.
What, ghost mustards?
Yeah, it's ghost mustards.
They're not going to put out goats mustards.
I feel like they're going to do it.
Go, goats mustards.
Sorry, what are you saying?
Goats mustards.
You weren't talking like that when you're eating that pastrami sandwich.
Should we take 5 for another pastrami?
There's pastrami left.
Plenty of pastrami.
Am I the only one eating the pastrami?
There's plenty of pastrami. And plenty of ghost mustards.
Paul, have you tried the pastrami? I mean, why am I talking like this and I'm not on camera now?
This is the new me.
Goats mustards.
Oh, my God.
What an amazing day.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing day.
Why didn't you do Army Man voice?
Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters!
Can you imagine the faces? They're like, you can actually scream.
Go like this! Gail, I think it's fine to laugh with Chris, but not at Chris.
Oh, okay. I thought we were all laughing.
At him, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're all laughing and pointing at him.
That voice was great. I don't care what anyone on that set says, or in this room, or on Twitter or on the phones.
That's good.
I'm trying to cover all my bases.
Oh, God. Liz says, Fire Say, I see a long IMD list of drunk bum number 1 in Stanley's future.
I'll take it. That's work.
Dude, here's what you can't, that you have to understand.
Yeah.
He shoots a lot. He shoots a lot of different things. The chances of the one scene making it is just that, a chance.
Yeah.
My heart's set on it, though. Like,
I know that it is.
Like being in front of that camera and getting that line out.
Yeah.
Come on. You got to have hope, right? I'm set.
That must have been like one of the craziest experiences of your life.
Craziest.
That's the coolest
Look
thing.
who it is. Working for a living. Former intern of ours. Now running the promotions department all by himself.
Wow. I can't believe it. There he is.
Harley Quinn says, did Stanley piss himself with excitement like he did in the bouncy house?
I kept it in.
Greg says, New Yorker, Chris Stanley. Manajamba says, great, now I have to make a ghost mustard sauce. I would love that.
Sounds
though.
pretty good.
Here's Mark in Virginia.
Hey, Ron, you're a genius. I thought Hicks Firestein sounded great.
Well, there is a lot of Harvey Firestein in that thing that Stanley did.
Go Ghostbusters!
But I think the thing is that it's because both he and Harvey are big and have sex with men. That's probably it.
That's where you're getting that connection.
The latter is not true.
Does Dunstan Flyer voice the commercial for Goat's Mustards? Look what it is from Chicago. It's our own Janice. Hey, Janice.
Hi, this is so exciting.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? We're all excited.
And call for Andy. Woo-hoo.
I know. I got all stars in my life now.
Yeah, it's huge.
You know, I was actually calling. You were talking about the Special Olympics, and my cousin was born with cerebral palsy and half paralyzed.
Stop bragging.
And they didn't expect him to become even an adult. And he was in Special Olympics, so I wrote Walter Payton about him.
Yeah.
And Walter Payton wrote me back, and not only did he give me an autographed picture for Bruce, but he gave me one, and he dotted the I in Janice with a heart.
Aw, sweet.
My most prized possession.
It should be.
I have it over. We got our bear chairs when the stadium got torn apart.
Yeah.
So I got my bear chairs. I got Walter, and I got Gail Sayers meeting my dad.
Wow, that's amazing. You ought to actually just roll up that picture and beat Ditka to death with it for giving the ball to Fridge instead of Sweetness.
I know. I know.
Still bothers me to this day.
Oh, I know. It's just heartbreaking. And even though that's all New England did was go after Walter.
Mm-hmm.
I used to always stand there going, Walter, it's Janice with the heart.
Oh, see, he would
know what else.
Yeah, because he only wrote one autograph his whole life. He only sent one out.
He had to know it was me.
Man, so your dad met Gail Sayers.
Yeah, very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah.
If
so
you're,
I have my dad, Gail Sayers, Walter, our bear chairs.
Yeah, you need to, and I'm talking to any young people out there, go into YouTube and just put in like Gail Sayers' greatest runs. He was so amazing, and you will see what it's like for people who are trying to tackle mist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You will just see guys come together to tackle him, and he somehow ends up on the other side of them. He was the most amazing runner. Very, very short career because he had, knee injuries when they didn't know how to repair them. but while he played, he was just probably the greatest of all time.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, my friend.
Thank you. I love you guys. Oh, Gail, I hope you never get offended when I say guys, because, you know.
I don't.
No, she doesn't. Yeah.
I'm one of the guys,
Yeah.
Janice.
Okay, cool.
So are you.
And plus, I've been calling her dude since she was born.
Yeah. I'm used to it.
Oh, another thing about Gail Sayers, and this is very, very, rarely even talked about. He had a white roommate, and that roommate got very, very sick. Brian Piccolo.
Oh.
And there's the music right now. I don't know if this music can even be listened to without grown men falling to their knees, crying, "Why, Jesus? Why did you have to kill Brian Piccolo?" Never know how to get to the actual song. We get in the prelude for a while. This song right now, this sounds like two best friends, hearts breaking. One of them, white, but still able to make a joke. Like, "Oh, I'm naming my son after you. I'm going to call him Spade Piccolo." And then we all laugh, even knowing what's going to happen. Gail Sayers loved Brian Piccolo, and he wanted us to love Brian Piccolo. But why would we when we know he wasn't going to last that long? Here's another Brian Piccolo story. He married a girl, right? Hometown sweetheart. And she had a special needs sister. So when he gave his fiancée a diamond ring, he gave the sister a little diamond ring for herself, too.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah. But, life. Life got in the way, didn't it?
Sure did.
Feel free to cry right now, folks. It's the only thing a man is allowed to cry when he listens to. By the way, Brian Piccolo wrote this song on his deathbed.
What?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, he was amazing. Amazing person. Not very fast, though, like Gail Sayers was. Not very fast at all.
No.
Do you know what Brian Piccolo's nickname was?
I don't.
James Caan. That's what people used to call him. James Caan. And then Gail Sayers, his nickname, I believe, was Lando Calrissian. Living in a cloud city. Because his lightness is the mist above the clouds.
Makes sense. It all ties together.
What are you going to do? Maybe, could you picture this movie again if they remade it? And both of those guys were jogging by and someone yelled this out.
Go, go, Ghostbusters!
Would really make you cry. Or just the great white slide of American acting. Well, I'm standing here now with the Star of Ghosts mustards.
So delicious. Plenty of pastrami.
Apollo poo-poos Chris Stanley's Oscar chances and the new hashtag Ghostbusters movie. Oh, please don't start writing the Paul Feig. That's stupid, Wayno.
Delete it immediately.
Can you delete a tweet?
I don't know. I think you can.
I put there's plenty of pastrami right up there with too much tuna. That could be your too much tuna.
Wow, that could be. Like, people could say that to you on the street.
And that launched a career for Mr. Jeffrey Gurriam, where now he goes around to nightclubs and says hello to comedians and asks them to take a picture with him yet again.
He has so many pictures.
Some of them the same exact picture from the night before, just a different color wife beater on.
I'm going to ask him for a picture the next time I see him.
He would love to give you one.
Jeffrey, can I have a picture?
All right, a lot of people brought this up. Bob Kelly played a construction worker in Ghost Town.
Okay.
Now we have that connection.
Yeah.
So you'll have that to talk about.
Was he was a ghost in that, right?
Yeah.
Robert Kelly.
Yeah. Where I was flesh and blood in my role.
We don't know that.
Oh,
I mean, we never got a backstory.
Who knows?
It was just so fast. It happened really quickly.
Go, go, Ghostbusters. Watch them go, 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 go. That's probably why they won't use it. It's too much like go, go, Gophers. You stole that line.
From the moment that he said to you, improv the line, how much time did you have until?
Not much at all, because they were going. They were just rolling.
5 minutes.
5
that
full
long?
minutes?
Yes.
5 full minutes, and
I
you came
feel-
up with go go Ghostbusters.
Well, I was very nervous. It was like Paul Feig told me he could start improvising, and I'm like,
Pin dropped. Pin dropped after that line.
I thought the people were gonna love it, man.
And by the way, that ended that scene. The Go Go Ghostbusters
They're like,
is when they decided it felt like, okay, we got all we need.
yeah, I think we can wrap this.
That's a wrap for Mr. Stanley. Let's hear it, everybody.
Thanks. This was great, people.
See y'all back in L.A. We'll walk the hills together. We should get together. Everybody was doing that kind of stuff. Get in touch with me when we get to town. We'll exercise. We've got to get some of this pastrami weight off.
Is there any good pastrami out there?
I think a lot of those California people, they eat differently when they're not in California. Like
Right,
they eat a lot more meat.
Heavy stuff. Heavy
Yeah.
hot stuff, I would imagine.
There was also just a lobster roll cart.
What?
Anytime, yeah. They rented a truck and it was sitting outside. And I go out there and there's like, just all the crew was just lined up one after another to get their free lobster roll.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what a great idea.
I'd be out there for a half hour waiting. I wouldn't care.
They had scallops too out of that truck. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe what the hell was going on. It was amazing.
Yeah, you brought up the scallops. What was happening with that?
I was just really surprised they were serving scallops out of a truck. It was ridiculous. I was
So
like, oh, yeah, I'll
before-
get some scallops,
I was
please.
just pointing this out. He ate scallops, a lobster roll, giant pastrami sandwich, and then shot his scene.
It sounds like you were there for 3 days.
It was hours. It wasn't even a full day.
I wanted to make the most of my time there. Okay?
You know, scallops outside too. I know, Chris, but I'm not here. You know what I mean? Like
when in Rome.
Yeah. When in Rome, eat all the free food they have instead of doing your job.
That's what they say.
I ain't afraid of no food.
So fun.
All right, we got a break here. All right, is the Bennington Show back from our super secret day that we... Well, I'm not sure when we're going to run it. Jermaine said they make him wait until a certain time before the movie starts. Paul Feig said, run it whenever you want, but now the studio will be involved in that. So I'll have to talk to Don whether we want to, how we want to do it. But really, really happy for Paul Feig and really, really excited about
So awesome.
everything that he managed to be doing with this. It's like I said, I watched Spy the night before, and I mean, to be able to pull that off makes me think that, and from what I've seen of the film, and I saw, different things. I saw one scene that I thought was so damn funny I couldn't even
Really?
stand it. Yeah.
Was the crew laughing a lot? Was it just like a lot of
Yeah,
fun?
they laugh after and they applaud and stuff like that. It's very exciting. But you know what also is exciting is those Ghostbusters themselves seem like they were part of a team. They did not, like I said, everybody had jobs to do. They had their jobs to do, but I didn't see anybody treating them differently. And I didn't see anybody treating Paul Feig differently.
Really?
Paul Feig is the dude running stuff but no one is worried about does Paul need anything. I was knocked out by that. I thought that he would have someone following him around.
Right. Keeping him on schedule.
Yeah. And everything was just like Paul doing his own scene.
That's so awesome.
It was amazing. It was amazing to see that. I don't know how it happens. I wished, I think I'm going to probably get to direct a gigantic major motion picture.
Definitely. If you let them know you're on set.
Spin-off with Chris Stanley. I mean, now that I've got Stanley,
definitely.
You know what I mean?
He's already got a credit.
I'm going to say what the spin-off is going to be. I'm going to give the direction of that, or else no Stanley.
Go, Ghostbusters. It's huge, dude. It has to stay in.
All right, Wayno deleted the tweet. E-Rock says, I need to book Chris Stanley for my show to talk about his role in the new Ghostbusters. E-Rock, you go through me, and I will talk to Roland. I don't think that you and Chris should be talking to each other.
No, you're the guy.
Because I want to roll this thing out properly.
Sure.
That's how it has to be done.
Yeah. That's the way things go.
Once they see me on that big screen, they're going to love it.
My plan is to get him on Howard and Opie first, maybe sometime with Sway, bypass Pete's studio.
Completely.
We got a break here. We'll come back. We got a lot to do, including we lost quite a few people in the first week.
The bloodbath.
Yeah, it always is. In the first week of our big show, Highlander. This is Bennington. Welcome back to the Bennington Show. You heard about Chris and I's day yesterday. A lot more stuff we can get to. Sebastian Maniscalco's Unmasked airs this Friday at 2:00. He's also a very, very hilarious guy. Also was the first person out on Highlander. He went out immediately Thursday night.
Took the Steelers.
Took the Steelers against the Super Bowl. I don't know what inside information he believed he had. Lots of stuff up on the iBang. I should ask Dan Perlman what he thinks about this one, too. This is a story that came out that Sarah Silverman said she thinks comedians ought to be open to the new politically correct stuff, particularly when it comes from young audiences, saying, college audiences tend to be the first on change. You can change too. That almost seems like an opposite of what everyone's saying. Even audience pleasers like Jay Leno, Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah.
Going railing against it.
Yeah, he's against the new PC thing. What do you think, Dan?
Well, yeah, it's interesting coming from Sarah Silverman, who, obviously makes a lot of edgy jokes. She's the only person who's ever gotten a TED Talk banned. They refused to post it because she made a joke about a retarded kid in the TED Talk, which in fairness is way, way cooler than most of those boring fucking TED Talks.
I like TED Talks before everyone got one. I saw my neighbor do one yesterday on, it basically was a TED Talk on, as he said, how to get the good cheese. And I'm like, I can't watch this for a half an hour.
Unbelievable.
But let me tell you this. I think this is the one point I'm going to come in for her. I remember growing up when there was a switch in comedy into the Carlin Pryor type comedy, and you would still turn on the TV and somebody would be talking about how the old battle axe and my mother-in-law is, you know what I mean? And you're like, dude, you're fucking out of touch. It does seem strange when a comedian holds on to something that isn't in the zeitgeist of that moment.
Well, to me, I think anytime you're saying to not be your organic self, you're probably going off track. Even if what you're pulling from is kind of a character or a bigger version than you, if you think like non-PC stuff is funny, you should probably go with it because it's the thing you have the most organic passion for.
Right.
Or if you're the type of person who is like, I know that I can write this way and keep things really PC, then you should go for that. I think it's probably a mistake to say anybody should move too much with.
I would seriously ask all comedians to stop talking about their genitals, just to take, I mean, it's not that big a deal to, you know what I mean? You don't have to talk about them constantly.
I don't think any comic should be going to audiences of like, fuck you, that was funny, or like, you can't tell me what to
But
talk
they
about.
all do it now.
Yeah.
They do, but there's no, I mean, you can't, they're not stopping you from doing it. They're just not laughing at it. And
Right.
a lot of stuff I think is interesting, that stuff that we might think is funny in the time, we might look back 20 years. Like Eddie Murphy opens, I forget if it was Raw or Delirious, with 20 minutes on, you know, how he hates faggots and he doesn't want them looking at his ass. And, you know, just like doing an impression of Mr. T being a faggot and fucking him. And like, you know, today, everyone, there'd be
young people watch
5,000
that.
blogs about that.
Yes, but even now, people go back and watch the young people, and they'll say like Eddie Murphy is disgusting. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't know. We were laughing pretty hard at the time. We were rolling around on the ground. You're going, what if Mr. T was like that? I think he is. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is, and I mean, she makes the point like, you don't want to be the last guy saying that color guy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you're really looking dense, and I think. You know, one of the things I think comes up a lot is youth hating. You know what I mean? When you're constantly running down hipsters and these new PC, you know, yes, some of those guys, but
it doesn't apply to everything.
Again, I will speak to people of my generation. We did raise them and send them to those schools. You know what I mean? We wanted them to be safe at school. This is what happens. When we're like, hey, no one gets bullied, no one gets picked on. Then when you grow up, you don't just say, hey, it's not just children who get bullied.
Right. If you're raised thinking that, putting that at that level of importance.
There was something that I heard the other day that was like battered something syndrome, where you'll go around agreeing with your bully. It wasn't even battered spouse, you know what I mean? But you'll try to agree with your bully or guess what your bully wants to say. And this is adults. I'm like, well, then fuck you then, dude. If you're not going to put any intensity into your own life, you know, I'm not going to be Batman and come swinging in for you. Fuck you.
Especially, you know, it's one thing when you're talking about an underdog or someone who can't defend themselves, but you're not going to stand up for yourself.
Right.
After a certain time, you're going to be like,
Sooner or later, your bully is going to have his back turned to you. You definitely don't have to be a hero to shove something into him.
Get him. Just get him.
Yeah. Get that fucker.
But every generation thinks the generation that comes after them is way softer. I mean, I read this.
It's because it's true, though. Like, the fucking people of the 1930s were as hard as fucking brick.
Yeah. 20-year-olds look like they were like 50, 60 years old.
But like, I read this quote, it was like someone saying like, kids today are weak, you know, they're lazy, they don't respect their elders, they're cursing all the time. And the person who said that was Socrates. So that was 2,500 years ago. So it's just like, it's the same thing people are saying every fucking time.
Because it's our nature to make things easier.
Yeah, but there's also a bunch of kids who think their grandfather is stupid because he can't fucking forward a fucking email, and they don't take the time to see what he is smart about. You know, it is true that generations aren't supposed to get each other. And by the way, there's no reason for Jerry Seinfeld to play colleges. That's stupid and weird. You know what I mean? There's no reason those kids would be like, oh, hey, Jerry, come on in and tell us funny jokes.
Well, the grandfather thing, that's one thing I hate in comedy, that you see a lot of people bitching like, oh, my grandfather's such a racist. So yeah, well, the Japanese tried to kill him, like, a lot,
right.
You know?
I always thought that was strange of my dad's generation, is that my dad went into manufacturing and did a lot of business with Germany and Japan. And I'm like, this would be like us going, look, I got the ISIS deal. It's fantastic. We're putting it together right now, but we nailed it at that meeting.
Just seemed like a couple years ago.
It seemed like they didn't take it quite as personal when it came time to start, money making.
They're just like, well, now that that's over with, let's make some money.
So I'm going to ask you, Dan, as the young comedian, recent winner of the San Francisco Comedy Festival.
Amazing. Huge.
I fell a little short, but
first runner-up.
Thank you.
One of the runners-ups.
Yes.
That's right.
Did you have a good time, though?
It was great. It was awesome. Yes. You were totally right about San Francisco. It's an amazing city. I'd never been there, right? And I could totally imagine spending more time out there. I loved it.
Yeah, it is a real city. It really is, and it's just beautiful, and it's a city, but it's really different than New York. It's just great.
I loved it.
They say the same thing that like tech people have ruined it, where it's because the tech money is there, so any normal people, unless you have been on the ground floor of some company, you can't really get an apartment in San Francisco anymore. It's the same problem that we have in Manhattan.
Yeah, the homeless population's so visible there. It's crazy.
Dude, like, those are called hippies. And
well-dressed homeless.
They just have never left. They still believe. Yeah, my only fucking problem with San Francisco is that I bought a bunch of fucking paper acid there one time. And me and my friend Berkey kept eating it. We thought we were going to be tripping in San Francisco. This will be perfect.
Yeah.
I looked around. He was just shoving sheets into it. I'm like, dude, I hope this doesn't kick in later. You're going to be a weird fuck.
Forever.
Yeah. But no, we didn't have to worry about that. We just got fucking burnt by a guy who seemed like he was,
He was down.
Yeah, I mean, you don't expect to be ripped off by people fucking pushing that shit.
Did you see Bushman? Bushman's still there.
Bushman was the greatest. How long did we stop and watch Bushman?
We must have at least stood there for a half hour to watch Bushman jump out of the bushes and scare people.
Gail put up a thing. I never saw anything like this before, and it's actually in Northern California while you were out there, Dan. And this is a guy driving through wildfire on each side of him, and it may be the most frightening natural disaster. And I don't know. What do you think is the most? Is this scarier than a Twister?
I don't know. I had never thought about it like wildfire being one of the most scary, and this video was just shocking to me.
He's driving through miles of this like this, and not saying anything. Every once in a while, you hear him just say like "Holy fuck," but there's no point where it seems like the world hasn't ended.
Yeah, it's fire on either side of him. And it actually looks like hell. What you would imagine hell. Just fire crawling up the trees.
Yeah,
he turns a bend. There's just a hill ablaze. And with the smoke, it makes it all seem like this weird, dreamy, like nightmare kind of thing.
It reminded me of the Seth Rogen movie. The one where the world ended.
Oh, this is the end?
Yeah.
It's so scary.
But it does make me want to go to the Pope when he gets here and say, look, Pope, this is exactly what it's going to look like. Oh, by the way, I got some news, and this is comedy news for you, Dan. A comedian is going to open for the Pope, one of the opening acts for the Pope in Philadelphia. 1 million people are going to be there. Chris, don't look.
Not.
I want you and Gail to see if you can guess what it's going to be.
All right, I have a guess.
Yeah.
Is it Catholic Stephen Colbert?
Catholic Stephen Colbert. Great guess. Chris?
I had Cat Williams.
You know what,
okay.
Chris? I know that you're a funny man. You know what I mean? I get it.
He thinks he's a big star now.
But you're burning it down. Dan, do you know this story?
I know the story, yes.
Okay. I'll just say, friend of ours.
What?
Recent Unmasked.
Oh, my God.
Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, my God. That is crazy. That's nuts.
Well, when I did that Unmasked, the Catholic channel asked for it. And I kind of, in my mind, I want to believe that went on to the Pope for him to listen to.
He just enjoyed the hell out of that unmask.
See, because he was very, very open. They brought up the number of the kids that he had. And I'm going to ask Gaffigan if he can try to get I don't know, the Pope to do an unmask. I mean, I didn't think I'd be on it sounds crazy, but I didn't think I was ever going to be on the set of Ghostbusters.
Crazier things have happened.
Go, Ghostbusters.
Coming July 2016.
I hope that's in the teaser.
Yeah, that's when we will know whether he made it or not.
Oh, it's such a long wait.
Can't wait. I can't wait to see myself on that screen. It's going to happen, right?
I said to him to say, the Ghostbusters, they stink and I don't like them. And then we were worried that was too close to Spider-Man.
So, yeah.
By the way, Jim Gaffigan's TV show renewed. I don't know whether the Pope helped with that.
Had to have.
Also, excited to say this. This is why doing this show is magic for comedians. Gerard Carmichael's show renewed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's doing a really great job with it. And then Dan Perlman winning the San Francisco Comedy Festival.
Oh, thank you.
Winning by being part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was there.
Who was the winner?
I'm not sure. I know there's the top 5. There's this guy, Pat Bersher, who's super funny, who's my pick to win it. But I think they're...
Oh, it's not even finished yet?
No, because the top 5 have to go next week, I think.
Okay, so they just sent you home.
They just shipped me back here.
I said, beat it.
I think that you finished 6th.
I think so, too.
First of all, this is such an amazing year for you, Dan. I know you don't I know you don't care about winning.
No, I was happy to just be
part
there,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, to be part of it. He's got a good attitude that way.
He does.
That's why if Chris's part gets cut, we don't care. He got to do it.
Right?
I'm going to freak out if I get cut.
No, Chris, come on.
I'm going to lose my shit.
More than me winning anything, I want Chris to be in the trailer.
Oh.
Well, I know he won't be in the teaser because I already saw it.
I can't believe you saw the teaser.
I know.
Good teaser?
Yeah. If I was, well, I'll tell you this. Even the effects weren't done in the teaser. We saw like drawings and stuff.
So they just did like a little
yeah.
animation as a placeholder for the.
Yeah.
But you saw the scenes that are going to basically be in the teaser.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I was having so much fun watching the cast and crew watch the teaser that I was watching them. I felt like that was the experience. I felt like watching them watch it.
Yeah.
I'll be able to see the teaser a million times, but watching them be like, oh, and like laughing and going crazy was like such a cool experience.
That is so awesome. I still can't believe it happened. It's so surreal.
Yeah. It is.
Chris, I hope that you don't get upset if you're not in it because you had a wild experience.
No, I'll be upset. I hope they recut the teaser just to slide me in. I mean, go, Ghostbusters! What's that take up? Fucking 0.3 of a second? Come on. Just splice me in.
This is a cool thing. This is up on the iBank for the new James Bond. You can buy an ultimate ticket that you can watch the film every day that the film's out in the theater. You get to watch it once every day that it's out. And you, I don't know, it's like ultimate ticket or something like that. Now, I know that you wouldn't, but I know Fez went and seen Batman like 10 or 12 times.
Yeah, but how many days are you getting to watch it?
You could watch it probably 35, 40 days in a row.
That's insane. That is a lot. Can you sub
People
out
do
your
that
tickets?
with Star Wars.
Right,
I know people who will see a Star Wars movie 3 times in the first 2 days. That's what keeps the rest of us from going, I'm going to wait a week and then see it. We can't get in right now. It's fucking insane.
So annoying.
And you're like, is everybody saying this? No, the same people are saying it over and over. When was the last time you've been to a theater to see something twice?
Inglourious Bastards.
Well, I did the same, but the one I saw at a screening, and the other I went and saw at the theater, you know.
I can't remember the last time I've done it. It's got to be years for me.
It wasn't Inglourious Bastards. It was the second one. No, I did it with Inglourious Bastards too.
I did with Grindhouse also the time before that.
I didn't do that because I didn't see a screening of that. I saw Grindhouse in the theater and saw a bunch of people walking out before the Tarantino one started. They watched the end of the first film and started walking out. And some people were trying to stop them, and I was just laughing. I was just like, go ahead, get out.
I saw Borat twice in theaters.
You loved Borat.
I loved that, man. So I loved it, man. Borat was just the best. Everyone liked it at the time, too.
It was loved at the time.
When I was a kid, I saw Men in Black, I think 6 or 7 times in theaters.
There you have it. He loves Men in Black.
You do love Men in Black.
By the way, that probably was another one of the comedies that you could have said people would have been excited to see little things.
Right, big budget and costumes.
The guy who busted me on Back to the Future, he was right. People love. I was at something in New York, and they just like had a Back to the Future car and like a fake doll of the professor there, and people were like getting their picture taken next to it. It wasn't even the car from the movie, but they had like a wax museum thing. And the professor, I forget what his name was. I think it was just Jim. I think it's Reverend Jim from Taxi was his name. Reverend Jim. All right, this is my favorite thing up on the iBang. A dog that does a impression of the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and it's just under what's it called? Dog
Loves Road Trip.
Dog Loves a Road Trip.
Okay.
Watch this dog, but picture it as if in a Hindu sense, if Ric Flair died and came back as a dog. I want it from the beginning, Chris.
All right.
You got to have the whole thing done.
It's looping
from the beginning.
It's a Vine, so it's looping.
We are going on a road trip. Woo! Yes, absolutely. Quincy, we are going on a road trip. Woo! Yes, absolutely. Quincy, we are going on a road trip. Woo! Yes, absolutely. Quincy, we are going on a road trip. Woo! Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's stop it there. First of all, let's just say good things about Quincy.
Love Quincy.
He actually does the face of Ric Flair. Second, Quincy's friend. Anyone who's happy to take their dog on a road trip, I kind of feel like I want to be friends with. First of all, I like people who like to go on road trips. Second, if you're excited about taking your dog on a road trip,
yeah. If you're the guy,
a good dude.
If you're the guy
a major dude.
Your dog is your best friend.
Yeah.
You're a major dude, and you've got a major dog.
Oh, yeah. Any major dog with half a heart would tell you, my friend.
On a road trip. Woo! Yes!
All right, stop
absolutely.
it there. First of all, do you think Quincy knows he's going on a road trip, or he just likes it when they howl together?
Quincy's just like, we're all yelling in here. Let's go crazy.
But he does look like he loves yelling.
Yeah. He's like in the pack right now. That's what he's doing. He's in like...
Now imagine if you took that dog to wrestling and the Nature Boy did that and the dog started doing it back. That would be the most popular dog in America right now. Not that I know who he would be replacing.
Sure.
But to be totally honest, I don't know who would. I don't know.
He's the new guy, if you know what I mean.
Definitely more popular than Grumpy Cat. Let's go famous animals.
Ugh. I got no time for the grumpy cat fucking hysteria.
It's disgusting.
Too much. Too muchery.
That cat's me a lot of money.
You say too muchery?
Yeah.
I like that.
I did. Who do you like better, Grumpy Cat or that little bub or whatever? Those are the two famous cats, right?
Those are the famous internet cats. I guess I had to pick one Grumpy Cat. I don't know. I'm not sure what Little Grub looks like. Or Little Bub.
Little Grub.
Little Grub. I have this worm. It's really famous.
Let's sit around and figure out who is in and who's out of Highlander this week.
Okay.
No opening to that?
Yes.
Here we are.
presents Highlander. There can be only one comedian football challenge. One comedian will live forever in infamy, never to be forgotten. There can be only one.
And also I want Quincy to be able to comment on some of these. Here are some comedians. Let's see whether they survived or didn't survive in Highlander. Tom Rhodes, Lisa Lampanelli, Chris Laker, John Doerr, Casey Bassam, Jonah Lasey, Nate Bargatze, Mike Fenoy, Jimmy Pardo, Chris Stanley. Did they survive Highlander?
Has survived another week.
That's right. I'm still alive.
You must be very pleased with yourself.
I am. Gonna be in a movie. I'm in through week 2. People mock me for taking the Dolphins. Guess what? I'm in.
Guess what? You shouldn't even be in this contest. A,
Let me in.
you're not a comedian. I didn't let you in. You're the guy who does the work on this. You're not a comedian. And B, you work for the company.
So I'm not eligible for the Rob Gronkowski ball?
Let's see what Quincy thinks.
Trip. Wow! Yes, absolutely. Quincy, we are going on a road trip. Wow! Yes, absolutely. Quincy, we are going.
All right, let me just tell you this. You need to see Quincy's head when he whips it back like the Nature Boy.
He's so passionate, Quincy.
Here we go. Gino Bisconte, Leighton Fletcher, Tammy Pescatelli, who was very paranoid during the show. I don't know who this person is. Kostaki what?
Kostaki Econopolis.
How do people who've never done the show are part of this? I don't understand. Rob Slowick, Gary Goldman, Dave Smith, our buddy.
Has survived another week.
All right, let's go for this. Joe Larson, Anthony DeVito, Doug Benson, Mike Vecchione, Bert Kreischer, Dan Soder, Kathleen Madigan, Louis J. Gomez, Chris Scopo. I am trying to figure out how people can go on and Dan Soder goes out first.
Yep.
2 years in a row.
Heartbreaker for Dan Soder.
Pete Davidson, Mike Racine, Christine Evans, Sam Morrell, Pete Dominic.
Eliminated.
By the way, this is the list that I call extra stupid. Jamie LaSalle, Bridget Everett.
Oh, God.
2 of our favorites of all time.
I'm very worried.
Joe List.
Oh, my God.
Our favorite.
Reigning champion.
Don Jameson on the best TV show on today. That metal show. Let's see what's going on with them.
Has survived another week.
Thank God.
Sarah Tolomachi, who, of course, is the lover of Joe List, who's the greatest of all time. Mark Norman, another lover of Joe List.
Oh.
And Jay Moore, who I consider nothing less than a brother to me. So this is a difficult one. Let's see how they do.
Eliminated.
No, Jay.
Oh, this is difficult. Tom Segura, love. Barry Crimmins, love. Paul Morrissey, love. Mike Cannon, who? Tommy Jonigan, Teo Lane, Jeffrey Gurian, and Tom Shartling. This is a love one.
Oh my God, there's a lot of good ones
Tom
on
is
there.
one of your favorite of all time. Jonigan is like my nephew.
Oh, you got Barry Crimmins on that group too?
Barry Crimmins, who is not going to open for the Pope. Tom Segura, tell her the funniest story I've ever heard in my life. Let's see how they did.
Has survived another week.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing's ever gonna keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
All right, listen to this list of people we love. Open Mike Eagle. Chris Gethard.
Oh my.
Jimmy Schubert. And Big J. Okerson. This is a beloved group for us.
This is a buddy group.
Yeah.
Big time.
But think of something. What do we know at least two of these people have in common?
Oh no.
Their hometown,
Their
Philadelphia.
Hometown of Philadelphia.
Eliminated.
Oh, God. I hope you're happy, Eggles.
I did not watch any of that because I was traveling back from Boston, nor did Chris tell me, and he was following the game.
You didn't want to ruin his mood?
It's exactly right. It was one of those things where your grandmother died, but it's your birthday party.
Just let him have just tonight.
I know.
Just let him sleep with hope.
And then I figured out later when I went to a diner. Like the Eagles, he's like, I know, man. I didn't want to say anything.
I know, buddy.
What gives you the right? What gives you the right to be judge and jury over my life?
Hide this from me when you know how I would feel.
And I felt terrible. I honestly did feel sick. But now I feel okay because I know the season's lost.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
There's a certain amount of freedom that comes with losing that first game.
Yeah. They have picked a replacement for Donald Trump, a Celebrity Apprentice. They went with Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I don't know if he's the business guy that Trump is. I know that he was selling like some protein powders and barbells before.
Why is he the takeover? Yeah, I don't think I associate business with him very much.
Branding, certainly. He knows how to keep the brand going.
But it seems personal. I mean, if everyone just has to stay on his brand.
Here's another story. People are scalping the Pope visit pics, and there are people being upset, thinking that seems un-Catholic. Oh, forget that story. The croc going vertical is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
So terrifying.
I didn't not know this could happen, did Joe?
I had heard like that their tails are very powerful, but had no idea the capability that it could propel them out of water so no one is safe.
Yeah, all right, so the guy is hanging a ham steak high. Now there's the croc watching it, and it starts to get its tail going.
What?
And pulls it. Did you know that could happen?
No!
Yeah. You are not safe from a crocodile if you're in a helicopter.
His perfect hover motion, like the control he has. He's actually snaking his way up. You know, he's using that same...
twerking. I thought he was twerking his way out of the water.
I definitely think...
How powerful is that tail?
It's insane. But I didn't know that they could snake their tail with so much power. Because you think a crocodile's got to be a decent size. The amount of power it would take to pull you out of water.
Well, look, just try this. Be like thigh deep. I mean, this croc is over its head.
Right.
Or even try it waist deep and see if you can jump out of a pool. It's close to impossible.
It's very difficult.
So the power that this croc's tail has, it's never been before seen in the... Now, I would give him that ham steak now.
Yeah, that's not fair. He worked for that.
Either that or I'd wait till he came up and shot him in the throat. If I was in Donald Trump's position, I would actually say, don't worry, I'll have every saltwater croc killed on the planet. Not even in our country. I will fucking invade countries, kill their crocs, then get back out again.
That I'll vote for sure.
I'll kill fucking someone just wearing crocs, those slip-on shoes.
Oh.
You wearing crocs?
No.
Did I tell you this? I'm wearing these today. My walk was amazing.
Are these new?
Yeah.
They look great. They look very comfortable.
I don't know what. No, these are not as comfortable as my other slip-on fake sneaks. But my walk here was like I walked on air. No, I walked on pillows on air. I'm walking on pillows on air. I don't know what movie that's from, but I love it. All right, this got sent in to me by Binary Dallas, who said, if a cat swats at something with its front leg, is it kicking or punching? So you got to act like you're the cat.
Okay.
And you're using your paws to slap it away. Is that, Gail, did you just kick or punch?
Because we're talking cat, who uses the front paws a lot, I think of it on a cat as a punch.
So, because you've actually put boxing gloves on a cat.
Yes, and we'll do it again.
All right, let me just say this. And I've first of all, I want to send him in a pretty good prize closet because this is a pretty good question. Matter of fact, if you send us pretty good questions and we use it on the air, I'll send in a pretty good prize closet.
Ooh, that is quite a deal.
Because it's boxing it, it's slapping it, that's a punch.
Now, if you told me a dog was pawing at something, similar motion, I would consider that like some sort of front kick. Because when I first got my dog, my man had never grown up around dogs, never had a dog in his house before. And he kept referring to her front legs as her arms. Like he would say, like,
first of all, there's the fact that you spent the time to say he wasn't raised. Like, I wasn't raised with an elephant, right? I've never been around them, but I know those aren't elephant arms. I know that in my art.
Like, he would say, like, oh, her arm is stuck, or, oh, look at her arm. Look at the way her arm is. And I'm like, nobody calls those arms. Those are legs. He's like, no, the front ones are arms.
How do you take the Eagle loss last night?
You know what? I think that he had not bought into the hype to begin with. He did not drink the Kool-Aid. And I think that it was more disturbing his silence. His silence of, it's over before it's begun.
Like, I've been quietly sick from it, which is the worst thing about being a fan of anything, because if fucking your fandom lets you down. And it ruins both sides of my picks, because I had Philly going on both sides of the Super Bowl. Jackie Martlin's walking by. But let me just point this out to you, Gail. And I'll end this Binary Dallas question. If a cat is swatting at something, is it kicking or punching? I'll tell you this. A cat has 4 legs.
Yes.
A leg can't punch. Therefore, the cat is kicking. Now, what I have done for myself is not personalized it as much as you.
Sure.
I am going to be like Judge Scalia and read the letter of the Constitution, not attempt to guess what they would want to do today, not even attempting to interpret it. But I'm going to hold each word of the Constitution, in this case, the science of this. A cat has 4 legs.
Okay.
A leg cannot punch. Therefore, that swat, that handy type swat that you see, is a kick.
Mm. All right. I see where you're coming from, but
I'm going to bring Jackie Martling in here because I think, well, by the way, what is it when you study mammals, you study animals? What's that?
Biologist?
Okay, in the world of biology, Jackie Martling is probably, Dr. Jackie Martling is probably the most respected biologist working today.
Wow.
The man knows animals. Okay?
I had no idea.
The man will not eat tuna. Won't do it.
That's really nice of him, because I eat tuna constantly.
You got anything to plug for Jackie?
Yeah, because Jackie will be performing at the Treehouse Comedy Club in Westport, Connecticut this Saturday, September 19th at 9 p.m. And every day at 420, Jackie's Joke of the Day.
Everybody.
At Jackie Martling. At Jackie Martling. And go to jokeland.com.
Good morning.
Jackie comes in with all the confidence in the world, gives Gail a kiss. That's why people... And now
you got one too.
But you know what?
Hold on, I'm not done, Benny.
He's just kissing everybody.
Everyone in the room gets a kiss.
Everybody smells like weed.
Yeah, everybody smells like weed. All right, Jackie, I was just bringing up the fact that you're a known biologist. An email came into the show.
Okay.
And maybe you could help us with this. If a cat swats at something with its front leg, you've seen this before. You a cat owner at all?
I have a wonderful cat named Jake.
All right, so like if you take like a toy or something, the cat's swatting at it,
Always,
right?
always.
Is that cat kicking or punching? Kicking or punching?
Absolutely punching. But it's not punching, it's swatting.
Right, it is swatting, right? But the fact that I'm saying...
It's equivalent of you slapping as opposed to kicking.
Okay, I understand that. But a cat has 4 legs. A leg can't kick or even swat. Therefore, that cat is kicking. And I would go so far to say this. All animal swatting is kicking. That's what I'm saying at this point.
They're all legs.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about a primate, of course.
No, in this case, I'm not talking about any primates
Now,
at all.
what is it when I'm annoyed and I drop kick my cat?
When you drop kick your cat, are you kicking?
I'm punching that little bastard because...
But punching with your foot.
From above.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing. Joe was called all the way from Utah. He wants to get in on this, and I believe he is a biologist. Joe, go ahead, my friend.
What has biology got to do?
Everything. It's got everything to do with everything.
More like
anthropology?
Well, yeah, because it's...
No, that's the study of ants, Jackie.
No, my ants are all dead.
That's sad to hear.
Oh.
You know, how about your uncles?
All dead. Oh. Christ, Bennington, I'm almost dead.
All right,
it's nice to be back here.
It's great to see you again.
Hi.
Here's Joe in Utah. Joe, go ahead.
Although the cat has 4 legs, it uses its front legs as hands because it will grab and hold on to things and then use its back legs to kick. When you play with the cat, it'll hold on to whatever you're playing with and use the back legs to kick.
Now, I like your thing here, but let me point this out.
I will point out in Utah, he has a lot of time to think about it.
He does have a lot of time. Now, I've seen Chris Stanley hold a joint between his toes, and he brings it up and takes a hit off it like a party joke.
Would you say he kicked a joint, then?
Well, that's only because he's holding the young boys with his arm.
That is exactly right.
Go, Jackie, no.
You know what? But that's okay. I mean, I don't mind if they're boys. It's young. That's the part.
That's, I don't judge otherwise, but...
I was, first of all...
I'm going to venture, I'm going to go out on a limb and ask, how did this start?
Well, a listener sent it in and asked this question.
Oh, okay.
I would like you know what? I'm inventing a game right now, and I'm going to just say this. I'm going to bring up a name and see if you guys can guess, and I won't even know before I write the name down. You two have to guess whether Jackie has met this celebrity before, because Jackie has met everyone in the business. There's quite a few, am I right, Jackie?
Yeah, a very eclectic group, I would say.
A very, very eclectic group. And I'm going to write down...
Chris knows what that means. Right?
Kids.
And I'm going to just say this name right off the bat. I don't know the answer to this, so you two will vote quickly.
Okay.
Has Jackie met Mickey Mantle?
No.
No way.
Both you say no.
Not only have I met Mickey Mantle, but in the 18 years on the Stern Show, I was responsible for 2 guests. One was George Clooney, and the other was...
Mickey Mantle.
Oh, my God.
My good friend, what's his name? Larry. I can't think of his last name. My good friend Larry was a partner in Mantle's restaurant, and he was my good pal, and he said, you want to have Mickey on the show? And we had Mickey Mantle as a mystery guest. And he sat there, and Howard asked a few questions, and then all of a sudden he goes, That's not Mickey Mantle sitting there. And he looks and it's Mickey Mantle. He goes, Jesus Christ, Gary, how'd we get Mickey Mantle? The guy goes, I hate to tell you, Howard, but it was Jackie. True story.
But that's interesting.
I didn't know him, but
But I wouldn't even think Howard's not a big baseball guy, is he?
But if you're raised in New York,
right?
I don't think he was a baseball guy. But everybody's a baseball guy when you're a little kid, till you know you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Were you that way, Chris? Did you like baseball when you were a kid?
Loved it.
Yeah,
I remember reading as a little kid reading Mickey Mantle's book. It was just I think it was just number 7 was the name of the book. It was for little kids.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, I like when they would write those things that you would do book reports when you're in 5th grade. And mine were always about Joe Namath.
Yeah.
I did one on Brian's song. Anything where, please, if it was a sports star and he died or he had a bad arm or something,
you're all over it.
Yeah, like a freak baseball star, I would have been after completely.
Having a back door to him, you hear all the apocryphal stories. There's a story where Mickey fell down face first drunk in a like a curb, and then goes down in the road, and like a kind of a puddle formed, and he fell face first in the puddle, and some tourists were walking by, and he looked up and he said, hell of a place for a living legend, now, folks.
That's great, man.
That's a true story. I wasn't there, Ron.
Yeah. All right, let's do this one, and again, I won't know.
1 for 1. What's
1 for 1. It's still This is Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong, first man to set foot on the moon. Chris, go first.
No.
I'm just gonna say yes because I was so shocked by the last one.
No, I don't know this, but let's check with Jackie.
Not only did I meet Neil Armstrong. What? Never met Neil Armstrong. I met. Was it? Who was the guy?
Buzz Aldrin.
The guy who used to come see Les Paul all the time. I got.
It would probably either be Cooper or
not Cooper.
Yeah,
I think it was Buzz Aldrin because I got
Buzz Aldrin was
me and the drunken astronaut.
Was he partying a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think he was too stoned to drink.
All right, I'll just do one more of these, and I'll do.
I have such a story about Neil Armstrong. It's very off color.
I want to hear it.
It's got nothing to do with him.
Okay.
I had a little plastic box before I put out my digital box. I made it with George Schlatter, who created Laugh.
Yeah, sure.
It was a little plastic box, and it had endless tape in it, and it was a gadget that if you push the nose, it was made so the joke would play, and on the other side of the cassette tape, on the other track, was a tone.
Mm-hmm.
So when the tone stopped, the tape stopped. So when you push the nose, it played one joke. You press the nose, it played another joke. And they were at random, and they didn't sell that well, so I made a filthy joke tape to go in there. And I gave them to everybody, and some of them lasted a day. And other people say, Jack, I've had it on my desk for 20 years. It was a little Chinese gadget. So the jokes in there were despicable, but they could have been anything. A potpourri of every politically incorrect thing you could think of. And it was a place on York and First called Brunelli. And Russ Brunelli was this big, strapping Italian guy, and it was his place. And there's a thing that if you own a bar and other bartenders or owners come by and they come in, you serve them. Right. It doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. It's one of those things that they do. And Russ is about to close up. He's got a huge picture window, right on facing the street, and 5 Irish guys from 2 doors down from the bar are already lit, and they come in. Come on, Brunelli, give us a drink, you son of a bitch. All right, so they all sit down, and they start getting drunk, and they go, get us another drink. So Russ is a good guy. He's running them drinks. He runs them drinks, and all of a sudden they start to argue among themselves. And because one guy says, stop breaking his balls. He's trying to give us drinks. Oh, no, you leave my fuck you. And all of a sudden, Brunelli realizes that in 5 minutes, these guys are going to have a world war. They're going to beat the hell out of each other. They're going to go flying through the plate glass window. They're going to destroy his place. And then 2 minutes later, they're going to be hugging each other and telling each other they loved each other. And let's go to the next bar. So he's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. So these guys are just on the verge of, he thinks he's going to break into a fight. He doesn't know what to do. He comes running in with the joke in the box, puts it in the middle of the table. It's a true story. You should hear him talk. Puts it in the middle of the table and pushes the nose. And the machine goes, what's the difference between Michael Jackson and Neil Armstrong? Well, Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon, and Michael Jackson likes to fuck little boys in the ass. So these Irish guys, these drunken Irish guys, have no idea what planet that was from. And while they're sitting there, like spellbound, he pushed the nose again and told another joke. And by the time that joke was done, they completely forgot they had been fighting, and it dispelled the whole thing. And I think that's the greatest joke. Every time I hear Neil Armstrong, the caveat to the story is, had he pushed that nose, and it had been an Irish joke, there'd be no more Russ Brunel. Yeah. Is that a great joke?
Now, this is why Jackie's book is going to be not only great history, but also great comedy, because he has met everybody. He's got a story about everybody.
I didn't meet Neil Armstrong.
But that story is better than if you did.
You know what? I think so, too. I think so, too.
First of all, just to have and Michael Jackson fucked little boys in the ass. Not even saying it was a child molester, but to take it to the bluntness of actually bringing up a little boy's ass and bringing in of knowing that he needed to move a piece of merchandise. The only reason this went out there is because the merchandise wasn't moving.
So that's how we save the day.
Yeah. And blessed is the peacemaker at the end of this.
How great is that?
But I've read some of the stuff that you wrote, and I talked to you many times about some of the stories. The hope is to put all this stuff.
I have a literary agent, and I am on the verge, and I've got like 65. I don't know if you call them chapters. You know, it's so funny, Ron. I came so close. I was going to release something because I have chapters and chapters and chapters that aren't connected. This kind of, at random. Do you know Mickey Mantle? Do you know?
Right.
Not really, but you know what I'm saying? That's how disconnected they can be. A lot of Stern stuff, but a lot of non-Stern stuff. Right. I should have been dead 4 times before I met Howard. And at one point, I was just going to put out a book called Unfinished Book. And just put the stuff in there the way it was. Like this is where I stopped. If you enjoy it, fine. If you don't look at me. Otherwise, you're never going to get to read it. But I got a guy. I got a real good guy.
Well, this is the great stuff about Jackie too. Is the stories, Eddie Murphy is in the story, but then there's 5 guys that you've never heard of who are at least as funny as Eddie Murphy. And the early days of New York comedy, when these guys were making it up as it was going along, it's just amazing stuff.
I just wrote up one of the long classic stories. I probably have been through it a million times with you about Bill Maher and it's just so fun to recount it.
Well, whenever he'll send some of these things out. And I'll just sit and read them, and I'm just like, man, Jackie's life is insane. And at the time, you had no idea. I mean, first of all, to jump on stage telling jokes and just jokes you're not going to have a career doing it. Any agent would have said, Jackie, stop it, go in a different direction.
Oh, don't go out on a limb and think an agent spoke to me. But there's 2 things you don't do in comedy. You don't tell old jokes and you don't laugh at yourself.
Right.
And that's all I do. It's like I'm do the Bizarro version of the handbook,
Yeah. But there was always something like really, light and funny about that act. And where was the reason that you jumped on stage the first time is that the MC wasn't around?
I was a Catch a Rising Star, and I had been telling jokes on stage forever. I was in rock and roll bands and told jokes between songs, which made people crazy because it's just oil and water.
Yeah.
And plus I'm up there drunk and laughing, And so we read about this place, Catch a Rising Star, and at this time I was playing my guitar in bars and playing my own songs because the band wasn't doing so. I might as well play my songs and tell my jokes by myself too. So I was playing alone, but I wasn't doing. When you're working in a bar with a guitar, you're sitting there and you're spending most of your energy saying, "I'm over here, I'm over here. Somebody listen." And then all of a sudden you get into a showcase situation and you've never been there before. Like all eyes are on you. You don't have to you don't need to dispel your energy to that because they're already here. So. We're sitting there. It said Catch a Rising Star. They wait in line, and then there's audition night. Now let's go see this. We went to see. So we went and sat right in the front. And audition night is endless and painful. Like one person after the other, 5 minutes of. And this is in fact nowadays the people waiting in line. Most of them are actually comedians.
Right.
This is people that didn't know they're going to go up there and pick their nose. So they're standing up there, one after the other, trying to do their 5 minutes, and it's horrible. And the crowd wants to laugh so badly, but there's nothing funny. So they're sitting there, and we're sitting there, and we're sitting there, and we're sitting there. All of a sudden, the MC's bored, so they wound up being great friends. Kelly Rogers, David Say. And they like stepped outside of the velvet curtain to get a hamburger or a drink. And somebody was up there, and 5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and the person got up there and just bailed out because they gave up. And there's nobody on stage. So this very drunken girl hopped up on stage and told a very horrible old joke and didn't tell it well and brought the house down because the people wanted something to laugh at. And then the guy came out and said, "Oh, that was very good, honey. You know, no, walk into traffic. Good. Thank you very much." So 10 minutes later, 20 minutes, however long later, the MC's out of the room again, and the person bails out. And my buddy Archie says, "Get up there." All right. So I jump up on stage, and I told a very old, what to me, see, growing up in Long Island, I knew every joke, but I thought everybody that grew up in New York and grew up in America knew all these jokes. I didn't think I was special. I remember the joke. I figured everybody knows these jokes. So I got up and told this long joke. I'm halfway through, and I saw David Say come back through the curtain, but he didn't yell at me to get off. He let me finish this long, stupid joke, and the walls shattered. You know, it was a very funny joke. I'll tell you the joke. And we got done. You know, I got done. Big applause, and I walked off, and when we were walking out, he said, "Dad, you know, that was a great joke. You know, you should try this." I said, "Yeah, but come on, you knew that joke." He said, "No, I never heard that joke." I said, "Come on, what do you mean you never heard that joke?" "I never heard that joke." And I swear to God, the light bulb, the proverbial bing, I was like, wait, the MC at Catch a Rising Star in Manhattan hasn't heard that joke. Maybe there's other people on the planet that haven't heard the joke, which turned out to be everyone. And, you know, and that's, you know, and then years later, I wound up doing it and stuff. But that was the first time. And to get up there and all of a sudden everybody's listening, it was like a real case of homina, you know.
Well, you know, David Say is probably one of the funniest people who've ever lived. Easily, I would put him with David Brenner and Gary Shandling and stuff like that. He was doing the Tonight Show.
He was handpicked by Carson.
Yeah.
He's one of the few guys. Carson came in to Catch a Rising Star and said, you know, I can't do Carson. Get that guy.
For a second.
For a second, I was going to go for it. I said, wait, I've never been here before. Get that guy.
Tons of confidence walking into it, though.
Go get that. I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing. David was on the Tonight Show. And I think this wound up being a Richard Pryor, actually, a bit he told on stage. I guess this has happened to a few people. But David was down at Charm City in Maryland, and he's always trying to get laid. And he grabbed the girl, and there's old ships there from, you know, the Revolution.
Yeah.
Or Civil War, whatever. And he met a broad. And, you know, there's the ships where you go on, and, you know, you pay your $2. Right?
Clipper ships.
But it's closed at night. So he takes a girl, and they sneak onto the ship to get laid. And they got caught, and he went to jail, and he had been on the Tonight Show like 2 nights before, and people are passing the papers, and he's autographing the jail and passing the autographs. That's so great, so great.
He's still out swinging too, right? David Say.
He's a pilot.
Yeah,
I think his AOL. I think is like funny pilot at AOL.
Yeah,
or something. And he's down in Florida, and I think him and his son both fly to gigs, and his son maybe opens from. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Is that right?
But we used to work at the comic strip down in Fort Lauderdale. He was
always thought he was a brilliant guy, man. Just
great character.
Really funny.
Great character.
Yeah. The comic strip in Fort Lauderdale was really one of the first outside of New York or LA places. And a lot of great comics came out.
And a lot of great stories. I mean, it was, you know, it was Animal House for comedians.
Yeah.
It was just...
And you were a rock star for the person that you brought with you to that place.
You know, at Easter time, it's Fort Lauderdale. So the guys that came would stay late, and the guys that were coming next week came early. And at that time, I think there were 4 at a time. So there was 4 people there. I hadn't even worked there yet, but there were 4 guys there, and 4 guys came in early. So there's all these guys. And I was down there with Rodney Dangerfield. I'd never been to the place. I said, "Come on, Rodney, let's go try to find this place." And we went to see Louis Nye do his one-man show. Then Louis Nye gets in the car with me and Rodney's daughter and her friend. And we find the Fort Lauderdale comic strip, but I got lost. Bennington, you had to see Fort Lauderdale. You're immobile because it's so packed with people. And we wound up on A1A in Fort Lauderdale, was thick with college kids. And I'm driving, and I got fucking Rodney Dangerfield. If somebody had seen him, I mean, he wasn't as well known at that point. He hadn't even made Caddyshack, but it was still Rodney.
Yeah.
But we got through that, my heart. But we go, I'll never forget, we walked into the comic strip, and I go walking in, and they're surprised to see me. But it's like Paul Reiser, and Glenn Hirsch, and Bob Nelson, and Larry Miller, Dennis Wolfberg. I mean, the cream of New York. And I come walking in, and behind me is Rodney Dangerfield, and their eyes like, and then the pièce de résistance, fucking Louis Nye is behind them, and they're like heads exploding. And all I can remember is Paul Reiser saying, "You arrange this?"
All right, maybe you can't do Carson, but that was a pretty good riser.
You arrange this?
I thought, but this is the thing about his stories. First of all, it's going to be a great book, but then the book on tape is going to be amazing with Jackie just sitting and doing these stories. So you think
and doing like Carson?
Yeah. But you think you're going to get it done?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The guy who's going to rep me is a big Stern fan, and he loved everything I've sent him so far, and it's like it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And he's just right. He says, "Listen, I don't want it to be all Stern, but I don't want it to be all you. I want it to be." He said, "In your stories, the Stern people want to read the Stern thing.
Sure.
They're going to flip right through my stuff. But if they bother to read my stuff, they're going to say, holy shit, that's funny too." So,
right.
Or interesting, or whatever word we want to use.
But also, just to bring up some of these names that haven't been done before, what people forget when you and Howard started to do this kind of radio wasn't done before, let alone, and anywhere in the country. So doing that stuff in New York with those people, those stories are bizarre and crazy, and you guys could have been fired every moment of the day.
Well, I can take absolutely zero credit. I mean, he drove that bus. He didn't ask anybody's opinion. He just did what he was doing. Even if I had an opinion, either way, it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just, I got to give him full credit. Just watching what he did. He was, he was made out of steel, made out of fucking steel. Because he was, from the beginning, just saying, nobody realized what a big deal it was that he was saying penis on the radio. That sounds so silly now, but it was fucking huge.
Yeah.
And I still have copies of the notes I wrote. It was so great when you'd write a note and then we'd get fined. They never paid the fine, but we'd get cited by the FCC, and to see the disgusting stuff you wrote, And then he said, and then Susan Berkowitz, who they referred to as Susan Berkowitz, sang these lyrics, I get down on my knees and I beg, please, I love sodomy. It's just great. It's written in the United States.
That is so funny. That is so funny.
So much
What
fun.
year are we talking about when the first FCC?
Away, 86.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's drive time 86. I think Susan Berkowitz was the traffic reporter when we first started. And they had a bet. She lost the bet and had to sing a song. So me and Fred came up with a song.
That's so funny.
Oh, God, it was just great,
And you had already been doing comedy for how many years before?
Since 79.
Since 79, yeah.
My first paycheck when I was 38 from the Stern Show.
Is that right? The first real paycheck, but
busboy in high school,
Right, but this is your first medical
for your career.
Yeah,
yeah.
You're on a medical plan.
It's crazy
Yeah.
money. I mean, I was making money. We started Governor's Comedy Shop. My girlfriend, who became my wife. We were the producers of that, so we actually made some money. But it was like here.
Right, everything was under the table.
Well, not totally under the table, but it wasn't a paycheck,
Right.
It wasn't official.
But yeah, you had so many gimmicks going where you're working as a stand-up, you're booking clubs, you were running nights, you're selling your albums, which no young comic was.
I love writing about it. Everybody thought I was a jerk. I produced my first comedy album, and I've been telling these stories for so long, and guys would be goofing on me. Because I'm standing at the door and people are buying my albums for $5 a piece. And all of a sudden somebody goes, wait a minute, we made $40 a piece and he made 75 extra because he sold his stupid records. Who's the idiot here?
Yeah.
It's great fun.
You would you ship them or haul them around with you? How would?
I carried them with me.
You carried them with you wherever you went?
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember Mitchell Walters. I walked into the Fort Lauderdale comic strip the first time, and he took out like a pile of 20s and threw it at me. He said, "Give me all the fucking albums. I don't want to watch you sell them."
Well, Mitchell had a day at the track, did he?
Oh,
yeah.
I must have told you a billion times the famous Mitchell story.
Yeah, but I want to hear it. I want Gail to hear it.
Mitchell Walters is this little droopy, built like a pear, Jewish character who I love dearly. He's a thief and a piece of shit, but I love him, which is common. That's most comedians, but he had a really, really rotten set of teeth. A rotten set of choppers, it would frighten Helen Keller, all right? And with everybody's walking, it's always funny when you do a comedy show because people are walking out of the show and there's like 3 comics or 4 comics and they'll go, "You were so great! You were terrific!" And they look at the third guy and then they,
yeah.
But I'd be standing there selling my record. So Mitchell thought it'd be funny to stand there and break balls, So we're at the comic strip and I'm selling my records and he's standing there trying to be a wise guy. And this really pretty girl comes, buys a record, and then she's standing in front of him, and he looks at her and he goes, "Hey, babe, how about a kiss?" And she looked at his mouth, I swear to you, and she goes, "I'd rather blow you than kiss you." I laughed for about a week. A week. That's a true story. And little Joe Mullen, the guy, the owner, he's a little Irish guy. Oh, my God.
Jackie Martling's in studio. He'll be performing at the Treehouse Comedy Club in Westport, Connecticut this Saturday, September 19th at 9 p.m. Go to jokeland.com for more information. And every day at 4:20, Jackie releases his daily joke at Jackie Martling on Twitter.
The joke line's been around how long?
516-9221. I just wrote that up the other day. Since 1979.
Since 79, you said a joke line going. You can call it anywhere in the country.
Every day.
Get a joke.
Every day I don't change it every day, but at the height of it, Rick Dees got a hold of it. Do you know that whole story?
No.
My wife-to-be, my girlfriend, came to work with me. I had a line. Yeah, it's too long a story, but I called up and said, "Listen, it's busy." I invented the line to promote comedy when there was no comedy yet. There was just in a bar room on Long Island. And I said, "How are we going to get people here?" I'll tell a joke, then say where we are, and then tell a joke, which is essentially that's TV, radio,
right.
A little promotional. So I went and got a line, and all the numbers were taken. I think I was one of the first people that ever spelled something. I wanted to spell something, but there was nothing except starting with 9 because the exchange was all full in the East North Oyster Bay area. So do you have this? And they had wine. So I got 922 wine. And after a week, it was, busy constantly. So I called up and said, "Can I get another line? I want to have it roll over." They said, "Well, I'm sorry. This is my mother's attic." They said, "You're not in the business area." I said, "Come on, wait a minute. Are you the guy with the, I'm not making this, are you the guy with the jokes?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're Jackie." I wasn't known as a comic or anything, you just, because, "Hello, this is Jackie." I said, "Yeah." They said, "Hold on." The guy came over, saw my stupid operation. He said, "We're going to give you a line." A little while later, a month, 2, I need more lines. Took me to 4. A little while later, I need more. They took me to 6. And each time I got an upgrade, the foreman, they'd come over because they couldn't believe this attic of my mother's house had these joke machines. And then we went to 6, and then Nancy came to work with me, and we had 10 machines going full tilt, 10 phone-made answering machines, 1 minute each, and the last one had a counter. And the way a rollover works is if number 1's engaged, number 2 goes off. If the 2 are engaged, number 3 goes off. But if by that time number 1 stops, number 1 goes off again. So the only way to make it roll over all the way to the end is all the machines have to be engaged within 1 minute because the tapes are 1 minute. And the 10th machine had a counter. And it went to 99 a couple times a day, which means 10 lines inside of 1 minute. That's how it was everywhere. I found out Rick Dees used to give out the number in Los Angeles and tell people it was Tom Selleck's home phone. But we changed it every day, religiously. And one day my sister called and said, "Oh, we just heard 922 Wine on the radio in Wisconsin." I said, "How great is that? What was the joke?" She told me. I said, "That's not possible." I said, "That was on Dial Joke a couple of weeks ago." She said, "Listen, I know your joke's better than you do. What are you telling me?" Jessie was sitting there, my little niece, and she pointed at the radio and said, "Uncle Ha Ha." It was me. Yeah. So I figure it's an anomaly. Somebody's crazy. little while later, my buddy Bill calls. Hey, we're listening to the radio in Jersey. We heard 922 Wine. I said, what joke? He told me, I said, it can't be on 922 Wine. That was weeks ago. Turned out they were listening to Z100 with the Rick Dees Top 40. My sister was listening to Top 40 on a Saturday in Wisconsin, and Rick Dees had been lifting my jokes and putting them on the Top 40 countdown, which accounted for the delay. And one day he just called up and I don't know if you remember, but in 1980, 79, 80, the world changed. All of a sudden it was HBO and there'd be bare tits on the TV with you sitting with your mother. Just the world changed and all of a sudden everything got a little dirtier. And when I first started 9221, they called me up and said, Jackie, you got to clean it up. And I cleaned it up a little. They called up and said, you got to clean it up a little more. Those were 2 calls within the first 3 or 4 days. I never heard from them again because I cleaned it up. But then as times got crazy, I made it a little dirtier. And finally, Rick Dees called up and said, Jackie, I've been calling 922 Wine and putting your jokes on my shows. He said, but there's nothing on there I can use anymore. It's all filthy. Will you do some jokes for me and sell them to me and so I can put them on the radio? I said, sure. And he said, well, we'll say that you're a crazy dentist from Encino. So how's that help me? He says, let me think about it. He calls me the next day. So I got it. He says, you're a madman that knows all the jokes from New York, and your name is Jackie the Joke Man Martling. I said, that works. So Rick Dees named me Jackie the Joke Man.
Is that right?
And I went from being Jackie 922 Wine Martling to Jackie the Joke Man Martling. And then they called me up from Governors and said, you're the guy with the joke line. We need to put in a comedy show here because the neighbors are going to shut down the rock and roll club. So we created Governors. It's
amazing. That it's real weird that you would work this way, but there wasn't like a plan. There wasn't ambition.
There was a 1 foot in front of the other. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then once I got to Howard, if you connected the dots backwards, it looked like I knew exactly what I was. If you made your way through a maze and then went backwards, like of course you turn left here, make a right here, you do a dial joke here, you make a phone call there. And meanwhile, I sent the records to Howard. What if they wound up in a pile and he never looked at them? If. And you know the classic if.
No.
Right? People say, oh, you met Howard. You're so lucky you met Howard. You know the story of Hillary and Bill?
No.
Hillary was getting gas, and somebody said, you're so lucky. She said, they said, you're so lucky. No, I'm going to, you're so lucky that you're so famous, but you're only famous because your husband's president. What if you had married the guy that owns this gas station? You know what she said?
What's that?
Then he'd be president. You know what? You make your own.
Right. It was going to happen somehow, some way, but who knows?
I graduated as a mechanical engineer, and the only joke I ever used that was even in the realm of anything mathematical, I used to say to people, I have to admit that meeting Howard Stern was the turning point in my career. But when you're going around in circles, everything's a turning point. which is a mathematical,
I love this too, is like, when he's bringing up Rodney, to me, Rodney was the guy at the time, like, even though he was much older, all the young kids loved him even before Caddyshack, and then Caddyshack exploded. But Jackie, who just, will tell other, jokes, old jokes on stage, still got a job writing for the guy.
Well, it's funny. He loved me. We had falling outs, but he had falling outs with everybody ever had, like all the big guys always do. And, but I sold him what he said was his best joke ever. And I didn't write it. But comedy writing is taking the perfect joke and giving it the perfect place. I've come across so many of Rodney Dangerfield's jokes from his act in weird places, but taken and put where they're supposed to be. And I was lying in bed in like 1978, and my girlfriend and I are lying in bed. My grandmother died. We're lying in my grandmother's bed, and I get a phone call at 4 a.m, and it's my friend calling from Peru. He's in Peru selling coke, doing coke. He's out of his mind. And I think he kept me on the phone long enough because he knew I'd be drunk that I would remember. He says, Steve, I heard the funniest fucking thing. The funniest fucking thing is this guy, Bob from Tennessee. Bob from Tennessee told me this joke, this Tennessee two-bagger. He tells me this joke. I'm like, wow, that's so funny. And then I wrote out a bunch of jokes when Richie Minervini told me I met Rodney. He's going to put me on TV. Blah, 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 blah. I'm so jealous. So I took all my jokes and wrote the best 6 pages of what I had into what would fit Rodney. And I said, Richie, give these to Rodney. He said, I lied. I didn't meet Rodney. He says, I didn't meet him. He wasn't even at the club. I'm like, you motherfucker. He said, but I was there. And this is true story. He hands me the matchbook from Dangerfield's, 1118 First Avenue. And I already wrote the jokes. So I had a carbon copy, just folded them up and put them on. Well, they were already in an envelope that said Rodney Dangerfield. I wrote the address and just threw it in the mail. What do I got to lose? It's already typed up. And my grandmother had died 3 weeks earlier, so nobody called that number. Nobody knew the number. But, of course, that's the number I put on. And the phone rang. We're eating lunch. I go, hello? Hello. I said, who's this? And he goes, Rodney. I said, Rodney who? He said, I knew you were fucking funny. I knew you were funny. And my girlfriend was like, who is it? It's Rodney Dangerfield. Who is it, Richie? It's fucking Rodney, And it was the two-bagger, two-bagger joke. She was so ugly. She was known as a two-bagger. That's a girl that's so ugly, you not only got to put a bag over her head, you got to put a bag over your own head in case hers rips. And Carson fell off his stool,
Yeah.
And we just, and he was in love with me for that. And he took me away with him, and we were away 2 weeks, and I'm still remembering stories. I mean, he just, the silliest, because he was so fucking funny, but he wasn't a funny guy. The way he spoke and his mannerisms and his attitude were hysterical, and his choices of jokes and the way he delivered them were unbelievable. But he wasn't sit around, fuck around funny. But the things he said when he said them, which I guess that is the definite, it's hard to explain what I'm talking about. Sure. Very subtle. But like he wasn't a classic old joke guy. This is something that I thought of like a couple of weeks ago, and it hadn't hit me in a long time. It's Fort Lauderdale at Christmas time. When we were down there, this is when I took him to meet the guys. And we're walking along the sidewalk, and 2 things happened that were ridiculous. It's like packed with people, young kids, girls in bikinis, And there was a guy on the beach doing push-ups. One of these muscle-bound idiots is doing push-ups. And I looked, and I turned around, and I said, look, that guy lost his partner. And he goes, well, you really are fucking funny. That's the oldest joke I ever heard in my life. And then we're walking along. This is not a joke, but this is fucking Rodney. There's a billion young girls just dripping of sex, and they're drunk, and it's just enough to make a man crazy. And he's looking, he just turned to me and said, don't you wish you could just fuck anybody you wanted? I said, I guess, but I don't think it hardly needs to be. Some things we just kind of take for granted.
And you arranged this?
Exactly.
You arranged this? That is so weird. Why are you going to worry? Why do you got to worry, Paul? That's the funniest little impression. You arranged this? That's the whole thing. How he got
because he wanted to know how much he should enjoy it.
Right, yeah. That's the whole thing of him getting in Diner, too, is like he wasn't supposed to be. And Levinston was watching him in the, and with his friend and shit, and said, come on in here.
And where was that he just...
It was for the movie Diner, and he went with a friend to
get
for
socks.
the audition. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
He went to get socks. He said, I'll go with you to the audition if you come with me to get socks. The guy walked out and looked at his friend and looked at him and said, I want them.
He took him, and he was on his way after that.
The other guy's still pissed off.
He's still pissed to this day. Jackie Martling, we got to get this book as soon as possible. Tell everybody where Jackie's going to be, Chris.
Jackie's going to be performing at the Treehouse Comedy Club in Westport, Connecticut this Saturday, September 19th at 9 p.m. And follow at Jackie Martling. Jackie Martling on Twitter for the Daily Joke every day at 4:20.
And also every Monday at 8 o'clock, I have a joke show at Broadway Comedy Club. It's just a hoot. It's just a hoot.
Broadway, right around the corner here. Huh?
Nothing but jokes. People come up. I got a wheel that spins with politically incorrect things, and if you tell a joke, I give you $5. If you don't have a joke, I give you a joke to read. If you read a joke, you get it's $10 to get in. You get $5 back twice. And everybody's got on stage. It's so much fun.
It's Jackie has done the craziest. His shows have always been. They're like variety shows wherever he goes. Jackie, let's do this again.
I harassed the piss out of poor Chris.
Let's do it again soon.
And give my best to your guy who I love.
Yeah, he just got through some surgery. So, he's getting better every day.
And you tell him I love him, and I will come back. And if you have cancellations or if she's here again, I want to come back.
All right, that's perfect. All right, that's it for us, guys. We'll see you all again, 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!